Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Sad news. We say goodbye to another long-time listener of Spaced Out Radio in our chat room. Found out just before showtime tonight that our good friend Double Tim passed away this morning, and he was found in his truck after an apparent heart attack. Tim had been a listener here for about 5 years. And you know what? He loved this show. He loved everything about it. Godspeed, Tim. Godspeed, Double Tim. We're going to miss you. What is with all these really cool people, long-termers, passing away? I've never had this happen with the show. Never had it happen. But let us send a bunch of love to Tim Clairmont's family tonight and make sure that they are at ease for all the pain that they're and heartbreak they're going to go through here over the next little bit. We were just a small part, but God bless you, Tim. Thank you for being a fan of SOR on this side and now on the other. Let's move on here as we got to do our roll call. Race fan in the gold medal position. We got Nicola taking home the silver with Big Vern with a bronze medal tonight. And B, how you doing? Grandpa Holland, thanks for coming on in. Mark Longoria, ufologist, the gorgeous Cosmic Floor. Todd Purdon, how y'all doing? Thank you for coming on in. The gorgeous Kathy Evans. Jesse Peak, where are you? Where are you? You disappeared on me. You're going to have to come back in, Jess. David Smith is here. David will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. John Swan, Kevin, how you doing tonight? Enzo, what's happening, buddy? The Doug Shelby has returned. The Doug Shelby. All right, let us move on here as we continue on. Wes H., good to see you. $5,900. Gary Voorhees at Gary's Beard, 2 separate entities, 2 separate zip codes. ERRT Radio, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Dirty Fylth, nice to have you here. Eris Mana, thank you for coming on in. And there's our man, Black Dragon, one of the great veterans who listens to this show. We love our veterans around here. Bigfoot Rob, thanks for coming on in. Bigfoot Rob, by the way, will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio. To the right of the studio. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. How you doing, buddy? I will get you that link for later on. So let me just do that right now while I'm thinking about it. And that way I don't forget. It's just that simple. Don't forget, Dave. Super Duke needs a link. Well, there it is. There it is. You got a link down there, Super Duke. All right, moving on here. Carfood Ibre, 405er. What's happening here? Richard Elmore, thanks for coming on in. And the gorgeous Jenny, nice to see you. And who else is with us tonight? And let's see here. Oh, Mr. Lurks-a-Lot, good to have you back. Digger Dog, nice to have you here. And Mennonite Abe again. Lars Janssen with a soft J. Never go with a hard J on Lars Janssen. Love it. Love it. Dim-da-dim. Dim-da-dim. The Michael Leger has returned. The Michael Leger. Good to have you here. Moving on. Who else is in our chat room tonight? And Steve Wolf, good to see you. The gorgeous Anne Celine from KPNL. And Dog Next Door, thanks for coming on in. JG Hartwell, Steve Wolf again, because I like saying Steve Wolf. And let's see, who else is here? Bob Erkins, nice to have you here. Awesome Ann Palmer. How much time do we got? I don't know. We got Obi Flett. Obi Flett is here. I'm still drained from last night. It was such a good show. Bob Green, thanks for coming on in. Welcome to our channel. And we're caught up. We're caught up. All right. We're going to have a good show tonight. Super Chat is open. Jesse Peak is here as our guest. Dark Magician, welcome to SOR Chat. All right. Yes, rest in peace, Tim, Double Tim Squared, whatever you want to call him. Do me a favor, just for Tim, horns up. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor that is for Daver, and hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going into the skies of Pennsylvania to look for some UFOs. Mufon Zone Jesse Peak is here. And then from there, Swamp Dweller joins us in hour number 3 with another spooky story. Then we got, who do we got? Oh, who is it? Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio comes by with another cryptid report. We're going to try out the Magic 8-Ball tonight, see if it's actually going to be working or not. And that way we could get our Zen and Chi on. And then, of course, we got Shirky Poo's news. All right, let's get right to it here, shall we? As Jesse Peak is a certified MUFON field investigator for the state of Pennsylvania, out of the city of Philadelphia, completing dozens of cases of people who have seen UFOs. He is also a member of MUFON's Experiencer Resource Team, or the ERT, helping experiencers on a daily basis to find answers to what has happened to them. He's a member of the Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies. Yes, the SCU, advocate for the Planetary Society, working with Congress to extend funding for future space exploration, project director for Project Batek 404, researching electrical malfunctions associated with UFOs and encounters. This guy eats, drinks, and sleeps UFOs. I mean, you don't get much more woo than that, and that's what we like on this show, is a little bit of woo. Jesse Peak, welcome to Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you having me on tonight.
It is. It's a good time to have you on, and it's exciting times around the UFO world over the last few years. When did you fall in love with UFOs, man?
Ever since I was young, man. I was a Boy Scout up in the Pocono Mountains, where you could see the sky really close. We always seen sightings up there. We took classes like space exploration and you know, all kinds of different star watching activities that we did, and we got really interested in seeing stuff in the sky, and that always opened up my mind and made me think about what was really out there. So I started looking into different stuff and researching different papers, and got really into it, and did all my research, watched all the documentaries, and really learned my history about it all. And I really didn't know there was anywhere you could join. And then I found MUFON. And then I decided to take a step further and be in service because that's what I've done my entire life. So that's where I got, and that's where I am today. And I'm happy that I did it, and it's benefited me greatly. Met a lot of people, and come a far away from where I was.
Now, with MUFON, that's an organization that is well over 50 years of doing UFO research right across not only the United States, but around the world as well. I mean, for some, it's a prestigious organization. For some, they're still holding a grudge about previous controversy. I will go on the record and say that I am a big fan of MUFONs. I like the changes that they have made over the years, and I am a supporter of them. And, you can thank a number of people, especially Tom Whitmore, for really, I think, cleaning a lot of that mess up that was there on the board of directors, because he's just so brilliant and a good friend of the show. And he'll be a guest here in just a couple of nights' time talking MJ12. But for you, getting involved with this, and why has it been such a passion? Why have you literally dedicated your life to UFO research?
Because I had a sighting with my father here in Philadelphia. It really stemmed a lot of what I started, my Project Bat Tech. It really got me looking to see what all this is really about. I had electrical malfunction with my cell phone during our sighting, which definitely got the project stemmed off of what I'm doing. We were driving in the city, and being in the military, I'm very familiar with everything. My dad, he's 60 years old. He's been in the city his whole life. And we see 4 gold objects in the sky, something we had never seen before, flying in a different formation that no more military jets fly in. And I go to take my phone out, and we're driving alongside these things, and I take the phone out, and it starts to freeze up. It's a brand new phone. I just had it about a month, and I can't get a good picture on it. So we stop at the red light, and the objects start disappearing one by one. And I get the phone, and it turns back on. And just as it turns back on, I catch the last object. And it completely blew my mind that it messed my phone up, that we were having this sighting, and that they were just disappearing the way they were. No objects that I've ever seen in my entire life have done that before. So it left me with a lot of questions. And MUFON has helped me learn and get certified in a bunch of different classes to be able to investigate these cases and get the answers that I'm looking for and searching for, which is how can they affect our technology with just a blink of an eye. I don't know how many cases I come across where people like me have had cell phone issues when they try to film a UFO or document a UFO. Their vehicles get stalled out. Their airplane engines tend to get stalled out. So it's just been something I've always looked into and wanted to find the answers for.
Well, for you, searching for those answers because you had a sighting, I mean, a lot of people will just try and rack it up as something that happened, something interesting that they saw in their life. But for you, it seemed to have triggered something that just became this passion, this desire. I can understand having this fascination with it, but I mean, you're gung ho here. You are part of a younger generation that is really trying to push the limits to find out what all this UFO stuff is about. So going back in time before you joined MUFON, before you had your sighting, what did you know about UFOs back then compared to what you know now?
Oh, I had no idea about anything back then. MUFON had us get certified in a bunch of different ways. Astronomy. We had to learn different FA standards, the lights, the helicopter lights on the airplane lights, the red, the green lights, all that kind of stuff. And when I was a kid, I had no idea that, UFOs didn't have that kind of stuff, or UFOs couldn't be on radars. You know what I mean? They could be able to affect technology the way they do. There was a lot of different things that I didn't know back then that I know now, which is when I get cases now, I'm able to investigate them and understand what they are and have a better idea for them. So yeah.
Okay, so out of yourself, what have you learned about you since going through this entire process?
I've learned that in the beginning, when I got into the field, especially when I first joined MUFON, that I did not think that the field was as extensive as it was, that you had to learn. The training process they put me through, I mean, it was over a year of training that I went through personally myself, with learning our field manual that we have. It's a really big, thick book you got to buy and learn. You got to take the certification class, and they teach you a bunch of different stuff. Just astronomy stuff, all kinds of different stuff. It's good.
Were you a fan of astronomy and flight before that?
Not really. No, not really. I wasn't really big into that stuff, but then I started paying attention to it and realizing that our entire Earth revolves around astronomy. So why not get involved in that? And once I started learning about it, it made it more interesting. And then learning about how that kind of can play into the UFO realm itself.
So you've been with MUFON now how long?
Since 2019.
So in those 3 years, how has your opinion changed on what UFOs are?
It's definitely opened my mind up to where I think that there's a bunch of different possibilities of what this could be. There's possibilities that they're not from our planet, that they're interdimensional, that they're possibly a bunch of different races of ETs, that they are maybe some are our own government, the UFOs. We have different substances that have been found at crash sites, such as like organic carbide and radioactivity, and then different things like things that have been found on NASA aircraft for when they re-enter. They're able to, the chemicals that are used to help get the shuttle through heat, through re-entry. And it's like, is this some of our stuff as well mixed in with the real stuff? So it makes you kind of open your eyes up and realize that stuff.
So I want to know, like, for you, as you expand on your own knowledge 3 years into MUFON, I mean, there's still a plethora of information that you need to learn over this next amount of time here. For you, what do you want to learn? What do you want to see or experience?
I would like to figure out, what this is. I want to know why they're affecting our technology, why they came here in the first place. Are they good? Are they bad? You know what I mean? What is their main goal? What is it they want from us? Is it something they want from us? Have they always been here? I don't know. And that's why I want to know. We get thousands of sightings, we get hundreds of sightings, and we're still trying to figure that out. That's the biggest question. Nobody really has all the answers to this phenomenon, which is why we all get into the field and we can get research and data and we can collect it all and we can find similarities and touch base with things. And we can get an idea of what's going on, which is what we hope to do. And in doing the projects like we're doing now, working with scientists and different other organizations that are sharing their stuff, we can really get an idea of what's going on. So that's what I plan to do. And if I could find and give somebody else an answer or help an experiencer along the way, that's what I'm about. It's about being in service.
I want to say this because, once again, I am going to preface that I am a fan of MUFONs, and I agree with everything that you are saying and the drive that you have. But one of the things that I have talked to a lot of the veteran MUFON people about, like, I'm talking people who've been with MUFON, 15, 20, 30 years, is the purpose of MUFON. Does it still have the impact of being a UFO reporting center, knowing what has happened here over the last 4 years with the government kind of getting into the UFO game publicly, with videos that we've seen with sightings and Luis Elizondo, the job he has done, or Chris Mellon, scientists like Gary Nolan or Avi Loeb coming out with Jacques Vallée and starting up the Galileo project. How does MUFON continue to be relevant in order to keep their stature within the UFO community? Because this is one of the questions I honestly wonder about.
Well, I mean, I think MUFON is trying to keep up with what's going on. You have to change throughout time, right? I mean, we find different things within the UFO phenomenon that we have to make changes to correct. Just like Avi Loeb's doing his research now. MUFON has just started Project Aquarius. Well, they've been working on it for a long time, which is to bring a bunch of organizations that are working separately together so that we can come to one place and have the largest readable and translatable database of UFO work that we can all use in one place. There's going to be an app for your phone that you can use, and we have updated our manual multiple different times. So we kind of do change as the time goes on. And now with Mufon's ERT team, which is what I'm a part of, the Experiencer Resource Team, we're really trying to help the experiencer and understand what the experiencer is going through. I'm an experiencer myself, so I definitely can level on that playing field. And we try to learn from that and find similarities and help those individuals work through their experiences. So I think like people like Avi Loeb, we're definitely open to working with them and moving forward with them. And I think that's what Mufon's about. I mean, we have to evolve with the times, just like any other organization that's out there.
No, and I understand that, and I do see that happening. You know, one of my biggest critiques of it was, and it's recently changed under director Dave McDonald, is I had been pushing Mufon. I said, and I remember these conversations with Tom Whitmore and a couple other members of the board, where I said, you guys have dropped the ball. The last 4 years, you dropped the ball. You've been waiting 50 years for the UFO story to come out in the U.S. government, and there's no Mufon on TV. There's no Mufon press releases. There's no Mufon going on this show or other shows saying, hey, you know, we've been here. We've got the data. We've got everything going on. And then the changeover happened for grotesque circumstances with the previous leader that we don't need to get into. And Dave McDonald takes over. And all of a sudden, the last few months, here come the press releases. Here come the knowledge. Now, I'm not taking credit for that, but I will say this. I think it's about time. I mean, you can only rebuild the image by improving the skills, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's part of like the outreach with the different MUFON conferences that we have, and you know, making sure that when we bring members in, that we're doing the right job and putting the right people in charge with a state director, you know, type of deal. We have different section directors, and we're putting those people out there to make sure we educate the public properly, even our own people. If we don't do those things, then we're not staying up to the task. And I think that MUFON has done a really good job, especially Dave McDonald taking over, making a lot of different changes within MUFON. You know, we now have normal monthly group meetings that we go to, Zoom meetings where we stay up to date on different things, different topics get brought up, so we can make sure we can address those things throughout MUFON. We make sure that we can address the experiencers and the people reporting to MUFON the right way, so that when they come to us, they know that they're going to someone that's going to, you know, professionally look into their sighting, give them the correct time of day, not just push them to the side and say, oh, we just want your information for your sighting. We're going to do the right job for you. Dave McDonald's definitely done that a lot. He definitely sends messages out every month. He writes in the MUFON Journal monthly to make sure he touches base with everybody. So there has been definitely those changes that you're talking about. There has been some dark times, but I think like with every organization, you get some bad seeds, and that's just life. But I think we're going in a good direction now to where we are today. So, and I believe that too. And as one of the younger guys coming up in the field, I think it's part of our job to educate the younger generation that's coming up, like myself. If it wasn't for the guys that brought me up in the field, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, and doing the things that I'm doing today. So it's now my job to educate those young guys that are coming up in the field with the right information, not the disinformation, and make sure that when they get to where I'm at today, they're doing the right thing as well. So I think that there's more things that are things that are being implemented in place of that to make sure that those things don't happen anymore.
Yeah, and realistically, that's what has to happen.
Yeah,
you know, and it was good to see. Trust me, I mean that as a complete compliment. When all of a sudden I started getting press releases on my email from MUFON stating that this was going on, and that they were pushing the media now to be a part of the game. I was pulling out my hair, dude, because I was, you know, I was like, come on, you've been waiting for this for 50 years. And now you go silent at the worst possible time. What are you doing? What are you doing? But I want to question you here on this. We got 4 minutes left. And then when we come back from the break at the bottom of the hour, we're going to get into some of the cases and stories you have covered that are interesting. But what's your stance on disclosure? Do you think there's disclosure going on, or is it more confirmation?
I believe that there's a lot of confirmation going on. A lot of confirmation that could be like it could definitely be looked at as a disclosure, but people need to realize that there's a lot of things we already know about the UFO phenomenon. So that, yes, a lot of it is, just letting us know that this is what it is confirmation. But there is slowly little things and little tad bits coming out of disclosure, like what Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon and Hal Putoff and Jim Semivan have done with bringing those videos to the light. And what that did, that allowed the government and Congress to start putting these bills in place to get us the UAP report that came out on June 25th. That also has the other report that's going to come out pretty soon. Lou Elizondo and them have been pushing in Congress to help them get the information they need so they can push further future bills. So I do believe that there is some disclosure that's happening, and it's slow, but it is happening. But you just got to watch that some of this stuff is stuff we already know. So yes, there's a lot of confirmation going on.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think we're throwing around the word disclosure a little too eagerly and a little too loosely, because there is so much that goes on with disclosure that we're not even close to where we need to be. We really aren't. What would you like to see come out?
I would at least like I say that I would like the government to come out and say, hey, this is what's been going on. But then if you look at it from their point of view, if they do that, then that means that all the 75 plus years since Roswell, they've been lying to us and they've known about this. I mean, they could try to play the role and say, hey, we just found out. But do you really believe that they would just find out that this is what's going on? And then they would have an uprising. You would have people saying, well, you knew about this all this long and now you're just telling the people. So I would like them to say that, but then I think some bad things would happen. But I do believe someday somebody's going to have to come out and at least let us know what's going on, because we have the right to know. We're the taxpayers. We pay them to do the job, to give us the correct information to the people. And I would like the truth to come out to say that, yeah, we've been visited for a very long time and something's going on.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen, though. There's just way too many secrets, Jesse, that the U.S. government wants to keep. Roswell. Even before Roswell, moving up forward. We just celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Phoenix Lights. We still know nothing about that, right, outside of potential flares dropped by A-10 Thunderbolts. Okay. And, there is so much going on. And like I said with Jimmy Church when he was on yesterday, there is this UFOs Pandora's box, man, that I would love to see open. I would love to see it open. And we cannot discount anything until that box is open. Every story is on the table. As much woo as possible is on the table. Every big name that we have heard on these last number of years is credible until proven to be uncredible. And I'm a firm believer in that. I don't care if it's Bob Lazar or the Eisenhower rumor or David Adair or anybody. We got to open it all up. Some people may not agree with that, Jesse, but I'm a firm believer in it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Dave. And we have to be careful what we do trust and what we don't trust, because there's a lot of disinformation out there. But we do have to look at the good things that are being brought out to the table that we've never seen before, and things that are happening now that have never happened in since Roswell. So, it can go both ways. For sure.
You're very right. Jesse, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Jesse Peak from Mufon, Pennsylvania. He's based out of Philadelphia, and he's hanging on out with us. He's wearing his colors. He's flying his Mufon flag, and we're going to get into some great stories from him chasing down UFOs. This guy literally wears out a pair of Nikes every month from running down UFOs. That's how committed he is. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear.
All right.
All right. There we go. There we go. All
I'm
right.
going to use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you go right ahead, man. We got time. We got about 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. All right. What do we got going on in the chat room? Joe's Maine looking beautiful tonight. Oh, yes. Lou's Amnesty. Lewis's Amnesty. Just reading the chat room here, getting caught up. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Grandma. It used to be hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. But she just became a grandmother 2 weeks ago, first time. So we pay tribute to Sandra with hi, Grandma. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Grandma. Once again, Double Tim, a.k.a. Tim Claremont, longtime listener of this show, found out about 45 minutes before showtime that he passed away from a heart attack. He was found this morning, apparently sitting in his truck. And Tim was a very, very loyal listener of ours for the last number of years. And it's another tough one. Coming off of Ethereal Aura, Butch Witkowski. It's been a tough couple months right now. I don't know if I like it. Not going to lie. I don't know if I like it. Uncle Dale and his power stash are here. If you see Uncle Dale hanging out in Austin, Texas, we can... well, let's see here. If you see Uncle Dale in Austin, Texas, do us a favor and visit him. Rub his power stash for good luck. Yeah. Jesse here, just so you know, is not feeling very well tonight. We're probably going to cut him out at the top of the hour. And then what we are going to do is we're going to have to make a game change on the fly here, where I'm going to put the link up in the chat room, and you guys can call on in and ask any questions that you want. So we can try that out and see how that goes. And you can ask, anything UFOs, cryptids, or anything. We never do an open line thing. Let's give it a try. Our guest isn't feeling very good, so we're going to try and make the best of it. You guys all good with that? You got to be in our chat room. You got to be in YouTube in order to do that. Gonna change on the fly. It's like hockey. Change on the fly. It's all good. Hi, there's gorgeous Amy Vegas. Oh, she'll be at our Vegas party. Oh, I know, Amy Vegas. Oh, I know. I just never do it. I never do it. We'll give it a try. Thank you, Steve Wolf, for the super chat. Really appreciate that, along with Todd for kicking things off tonight. Remember, if you do come on air, no swearing, no COVID talk, no government politics, unless you're throwing Justin Trudeau under the bus. No, I'm teasing. I don't even want that. Jesse, are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
All right. I'm sorry you're not feeling well here, dude. Well,
No, that's cool. I'm getting over COVID, so it's just bad.
yeah. All right. Hold on. We got like 10 seconds here, and we don't want to kick you down here any further than we have to, because I know what that's like being sick. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. We continue on talking UFOs tonight. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We got him till the top of the hour. Our guest tonight, Jesse Peak, is going to battle through. He's not feeling very good, but he's going to stick with us until we get to the top, and then we're going to try something new here. We're actually going to open up the lines here, and if you got questions, you can call on in. I never do it. I'm taking a chance tonight. See if my hunch is correct. Otherwise, it'll be some pretty bad radio, just so you know. Pretty bad radio. We're not used to that. But I'll take the blame for that. Jesse is part of Mufon, and he's based out of the state of Pennsylvania. Beautiful state. I love Pennsylvania. Jesse, sorry you're not feeling well, man. We're going to battle through here.
I'm sorry, man, myself, so I'm sorry about it. I'm trying.
It happens, my friend. The good part about it is we do get to bring you back when that happens.
I would love to.
We do. Yeah. You know, we're not going to hold it against you. Geez, you know, like during the show, he faked a sickness, and he got 1 hour, and when we see him live, we're going to throw a shoe at him. No, we're not those kind of people. I mean, I'll still throw a shoe at you just because, but you know what? We're going to bring you back on. We're definitely going to bring you back on. All right. Let's get to some of your stories that you have been able to sink your teeth into. What kind of cases do you like covering?
So my favorite cases that I like covering is part of the Project Bat Tech 404 that I'm the director of. So when I had that sighting with my father in the city and my phone malfunctioned, I started coming across a lot of different cases of electrical malfunctions associated with a UFO sighting or encounter. One of the big ones a lot of people know of, well, there's a bunch of different ones, really. Kevin Randall talks about a lot of them in this new book called Level Land. But you got Leonard Stringfield, who's someone that everybody knows of in ufology. He was flying his C-40 cargo plane over Iwo Jima when they had 3 UFOs come on one of their sides of their plane, and the engine started to malfunction. I mean, black smoke started coming out of it. The engine started failing, and the pilot's starting to yell that we're going to have to bail. Well, as soon as the UFOs get out of range, the engine kicks back on, and everybody lands fine, and everybody's safe. And it's encounters like that have stemmed this whole project. And BATTech stands for Battery Technology, and 404 stands for an error code that you get with everyday technology. Now, we have our own database that we're collecting, sort of kind of like Mufon does. And we also now have some scientists that are on board with us that are working with we're trying to figure out, we're getting to the testing phase now of how we can test different frequencies to see how they affect our technology, to see what frequencies that we can replicate a UFO affecting a car engine or an airplane engine or something like that. So I'm super, my time is like a lot into that, and my Mufon, I split it up between that. But I put a great team together, and we've been taking tons of cases. We have a pretty big database right now. And with the scientists we're working with, we found out that before 1974, diesel engines were not being affected by UFO sightings. I mean, there would be diesel engines right next to a combustion engine, and the combustion engine would completely shut down, but the diesel engine would continue to run. Now, inside the cockpit of the truck or the diesel engine, the lights and the radio would dim out, but the engine would continue to run. And then once the UFOs would leave, everything would kick back on and start working. Now, what happened in 1974 is that the U.S. Federal emission standards went into place, and they wind up having to make a lot of different changes to these engines. So after 1974, when the UFOs would come over, the diesel engines would start being affected. So we're trying to look at the technology and what mechanics were involved in those engines back then to make them not affected by these UFOs. If we can figure that out, we can maybe figure out a way to stop this from happening to our everyday technology when a UFO comes into our view. You know what I mean? There's some really interesting stuff we're starting to find out, and it's got my brain rolling and starting to set up some real testing that we can do to replicate this.
The frequency matter seems to be catching on quite a bit, whether it's through investigators such as yourself or even people like Avi Loeb or people who are connected to the Galileo Project or the SCU. Figuring out their technology, whoever they are, we are starting to get a little smarter with our own ways of being able to track devices, track aircraft, and track any sort of anomalies. Is it just a matter before we crack any certain code that they are traveling on or that they are using in order to figure out their technology?
Well, see, there's a saying that, whatever we have, say we have the iPhone 13 right now, they say the government's, already 20, 30 years ahead of that, and they're just giving it to us now. So there's already a possibility that the government already has some type of technology that they're able to track these objects on. I just seen a video the other day of an astronaut up in space, and he has the video on while he's working outside, and these UFOs would come in the face, and he would put his hand up to try to block them, like someone was radioing to him to block the camera. You know what I mean? So it's like, are they tracking these things already, and we just don't know about it? It's a big question that I have, but I do think that they are kind of tracking them in a sense, but I don't think they fully know how to yet.
What do you think we're missing on the technological side in being able to track them?
I don't think we know how to use certain materials like metamaterials and different connections. I don't think we're smart enough to know how to use these things yet. Even like it's like saying someone like, do you know how to meditate and do you know how to get out of body? And someone has to learn how to do that. And I don't believe we know how to do that yet. We don't know how to get that technology to a certain frequency to use it to be able to understand what we're dealing with yet, because the technology is so far ahead of us. So there's a big possibility that we just can't figure it out yet, or our minds aren't consciously there yet to be able to figure that out.
Okay, so is it a matter of frequency or is it a matter of something else that we need to track? Is it their different metals that they're using? Is it their different propulsion that we have to try and catch, since there is no heat signature that is coming from the crafts that seem to be coming in? How do we track something that we don't even know what it is?
Well, that's definitely a good question. I would hope that Avi Loeb is doing something that's going to try to help with that. That's his goal at the end of the day. He said he's going to be able to use use the technology that he has to be able to track these things in a different way we've never been able to do before, and be able to get clear pictures and not grainy pictures. So I'm kind of waiting on to see what he's got to do to be able to answer that question, because I really don't have the answers to that.
How many people have you interviewed as eyewitnesses who have had missing time and found it on their Fitbits?
I heard about this the other night, and no, but we've had Apple Watches. I've had people report to us, even for our bat tech that we've done. We've had Apple Watches track different times and things and do different readings that they have no idea about. They wake up the next day, just like you guys talked about with the Fitbit, but the Apple Watch kind of does the same thing. So I have had one story, and it's in our database for the Bat Tech project that we're doing now, which was really interesting when I heard you guys talk about it last night.
Care to share it with us?
I don't know all the details, but I believe there was some missing time that was on there. I believe time that was not able to be accounted for, just like your Fitbit was doing. It said that that person was awake and walking around and counted some different movements, and you don't hear that too often because I don't think not many people that have Fitbits and Apple Watches are reporting UFO things like that. I don't think too many of them have. So it's really interesting, and we don't have too much data on this yet, so there's not much to know about it.
I really think that is a technology that we got to delve into. And I'm in a private group with a bunch of scientists, and trust me, I am not scientific at all, and I don't proclaim to be. I don't play one on the radio or anything. But I brought that up to a number of scientists, and they were absolutely blown away. They were blown away that this could have potential as being something. And I really hope that the science part, scientific people really jump on that bandwagon to start seeing, okay, what is a Fitbit or a smartwatch doing that we are not catching with UFOs? I mean, if anything right now can give a little bit more legitimization to experiencers who claim they are being taken, it seems that it could be something in the technology with the smart watches.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's a clue. That's all we have is clues. And we got to run these clues into the ground.
Right. And that's why it's our job to educate people about this phenomenon, because the more we educate people, the more we'll be able to tell these people that this is what's going on. So if other people that are wearing these smartwatches and things like that know about it, they know where to report it to. So then we can get the data on it and get it out to people and be able to understand this a lot better. So that's why it's the job of the younger generation like myself to make sure we educate these people on what's happening to people, you know?
E- Exactly, exactly. What's your favorite case that you have covered to this day?
My favorite case is one of the Project Tech. It was a gentleman who was on his phone. He was on his way home, driving to his girlfriend's house, coming down a road that he normally did. Um, and he just hangs up the phone and he looks out his left window and he sees these objects. And so he pulls over to the side of the road and he's sitting there and he's got a Sirius XM radio on and he's listening. And he steps outside the car, and as they get closer, his car shuts off. The Sirius XM radio is sitting there and saying no signal. He tries to pick up his phone to call his girlfriend, who's right down the road at the house, to look out the door to see these objects. And he picks the phone up, and the phone won't even turn on. It's like the battery's dead completely. He takes the phone out, takes the battery, won't work. So then these objects start going down, and everything starts kicking back on. So he gets back in the car, but the phone still won't come back on. And as they get farther away, he's able to, everything kicks back on. He takes off and he gets back at the house. And he wasn't able to get that phone working until he actually took the battery back out and then put it back in and charged it. It was like it needed that connection again, that boost. And it just blows my mind that it's able to do that. And we figured out that with that case and a bunch of other cases that they have to be within a certain range. And we have a bunch of data on the different ranges. And that's what we're working with the scientists with and other big organizations that have sent a lot of data in, so we can give you a percentage of, how far these objects have to be able to affect your data. So it's really interesting stuff.
Okay, so when it comes to a case like that where somebody has their engine shut off or some sort of physical damage, how does that change the investigation when there is that type of physical proof?
Well, because at that point we can possibly get some EMF readings. There's more data we can collect on a case like that. Is there whatever frequency or whatever they use to affect our electronics that way? Sometimes it can give off different readings, and we can get that reading and take it back so we know what they use to affect it. And that gives us a better idea of whatever this was. We could put two and two together and find the similarities. And then if we find more cases like that, we know what we're dealing with when we're having UFO sightings. So the more things that go wrong in a case, which is really, we don't want that to happen, but the more things that go wrong and we're able to collect data on, the more we could find out about this phenomenon in general, if you know what I mean by when I say that.
How do we know if it's alien or human?
that's a good question. That's a really good question. And you know, I think about that all the time. Is it us in the future? And I've heard many people say it could possibly be us in the future, many, many years in advance, trying to, watch us and lead us along and maybe help us in little ways here and there. But then the universe is just so big, there's possibilities. The possibilities are endless. I mean, there could be multiple different species, just like there's multiple different human beings or mammals or just like anything else. So my thoughts at all times in this is that I'm completely open-minded with all possibilities because nobody knows the answers for sure. So until then, I'm going to be open-minded and continue looking at it that way because that's how we figure out things.
You know what? I think that's good. A good analogy of everything, because that is the biggest confusion that I have is you get so many people. That's human. That's human. This is nuts and bolts. That's human. That's NASA. That's Lockheed. That's Boeing. That's uh, Northrop Grumman.
Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know? Show me the directions or the certificate of authenticity. This is what I want, Jesse. This is what I want, man. And unfortunately, we don't get it that way. But I'm just curious, like for the layman out there, like me, how do we tell what's human and what's not? Because if it's nothing we recognize, it's always UFO.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, there's people that say that they've seen different ETs and they could figure out, by the look of their jawline if they're a hybrid or, you could point different things out. And yeah, you could take that data for what it is and you can roll with it. But really, do we really honestly know? And so at that point, I just have to stay open-minded and I have to believe in all possibilities.
Okay, so how does your game plan change then between a case that involves a UFO and a case that involves ET contact?
So there's big differences with that. So, our training is completely separate too as well. I mean, you have to go through a whole other training process to become an ERT member from a field investigator. You have to learn how to deal with people. You need to learn about a little bit of psychology. If you're an experiencer as well, it definitely helps, which I am. So I'm a little, and even being an experiencer with what I've experienced, I'm still open-minded to other things. I'm still open-minded to being other possibilities. But we also got to learn that the people that are reporting in an ERT case need our help. And that's what we're there for. We're there to make sure that we can help them through their experience the best way we possibly can. So that's the job there. When I'm working as a field investigator, I'm there to take all the information and report a case. When I'm working with an experiencer, I'm there to assist that experiencer and welcome them through their experience, finding similarities in their case, getting them in outreach, going to different meetings and groups to learn and meet other people that can connect their similarities to their story. And it's basically another part of being in service. So it's two completely different things. When I'm a field investigator, I'm asking you questions. I want all the details, all the nuts and bolts stuff, and that's what I want to report in that case. But when I'm working with an experiencer, I'm not reporting. I'm not taking data points for an experiencer. That's just not even right to do to even do that. We want to sit there and we want to help them and help them point out and get them the answers if we need to get them through a hypnotherapist and put them in regression and things like that. That's our job to help people. So it's completely different from the regular investigation.
Okay, so take me on a story. We got 5 minutes left before we're going to say goodnight to you because I know you're not feeling good, and thank you for battling here with us. But take me on a story where you've dealt with an experiencer.
Okay, so I'll even go with the last one I did. Somebody who's had a really bad experience. Scars on their body, possible implants. Very frantic when I first started talking to them. You could tell through the emails, through the wording. And right then and there, that points you to what kind of help you need to give at that point in time. You know how to work. You know how to work with them. You know how to talk to somebody. You know how to walk them through when you're having a conversation. You go and you set your interview up with that person. And what I do is I try to get all the details of their experience and write them down into a book. And then this way I can point out their similarities to them because most of the time when they're calling, they have no idea. They're all over the place at that point. So then I walk them through that point. We have the whole conversation for about an hour. And usually what we'll do is we'll schedule to a meeting to go to. This way she can hear he or her can hear other experiences, talk about their experiences, and then learn from those as well. And then during that time, we could sit there and point little things out and find the similarities and help her and give her the answers to their experience. So it's a long process. I can't just sit here. Every person's a little bit different, but that's you want to go down the line with whatever whatever they need. It's just, and no one is the same in my book. I've never met somebody that I could easily go this way or that way.
And you know what? That is something that we brought up here very recently on this show. Is for some reason everybody's experience is different. There are very rarely cases where two experiences are exactly the same. They may be similar, but nothing ever seems to be the same from one person to another. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think everybody's in their own state of mind when they have their own experiences. And I think everybody's mind's a little different, just like every person's a little different. So when you have your own experiences, there's different ways that you think, different ways you were brought up, different ways that you were raised by your parents, different religions, all that. And that comes into play when you have your experience. The way you look at things was it a bright light, or was it God, or was it an ET? You know what I mean? Was it a reptilian because it was a green orb, or was it, you know what I mean? It's a lot of different aspects. And I think because each person is so different on their own, that each experience they have is different.
Yeah, but even in you get those situations, and maybe you've had cases like this, as we got about 2.5 minutes to go, where, you get a group of people where only, say, 2 of the 4 of them or 3 of the 5 of them actually see what's going on, and the other 2 are looking in the exact same direction, and they don't see anything.
Right.
That just trips me out there, Jesse.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And some people say that maybe that's just what those people needed at that time. Maybe those people just needed to see something or needed that push in that certain direction or anything. You know what I mean? It could be just for that person. It's something we still don't understand, and that's why we're all in this, right?
Oh, that is very, very true. What about children? Have you had any cases with children being taken or having contact?
I've had only children or other witnesses to a sighting, but I haven't had any children that were contactees yet through Mufon. No.
That's just scary stuff.
Yeah. It's a whole different route right there with children, for sure. And I was a counselor for 5 years for young scouts. So I can imagine what that's like,
Would you want to deal with those type of cases, or is that kind of a no-go area?
I would never say no to anybody. That's not who I am. So I would absolutely, if the help was needed, I would be there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you on that. It's just so much. It's amazing how the game automatically changes the minute kids and aliens are combined.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So give us a rundown. We got about 45 seconds left with you, Jesse. Give us a rundown on how people can get information to you in case they see a UFO in Pennsylvania or around their state.
Yeah, I mean, you just go to mufon.com and report the case, and it will get sent to your local field investigator. And whoever's in your area, it'll be a local person. They'll get the case, and they'll reach out to you. I also got my podcast. It's UFO Encounters Worldwide. It comes out every Thursday with a new episode. You can catch it on all podcast platforms, and starting tomorrow, KGRA Digital Broadcasting. So we will be on there as well. And and if you want to report to the project, you can go to projectbattech404.wordpress.com to report a case, or if you want to send information our way. And I also do private investigations too. If you don't want to go that route, I'll help you on the side and do whatever I can to help you.
Appreciate that. Jesse Peak, Mufon, Pennsylvania. We got to cut it short with Tim. He's still getting over COVID. But the good news is next hour, the show goes on. We're going to open up the calls to those in our chat rooms. Tell me your UFO stories, your Bigfoot stories, We'll be back with hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio when we return. All right, buddy, you go get some rest, okay?
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave. I apologize, man. This is not.
Don't
I'm trying to
apologize.
pull through it.
Hey, don't apologize, man. I mean, you're going through a sickness right now that you got to get healthy for. So you just go get healthy. Thank you for a great hour, though. Seriously, thank you.
I try. My head's all cloudy for real. Oh, yeah. I'm trying, man. All right.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you go here. And
have a good night, Dave.
Yeah, you too, man. Bye. Oh, man, I feel for him. I'm going to just run my dogs outside. I will be right back. I'll post the StreamYard link, and that way you guys can call on in. We will take only one call at a time. I'll be right back. Okay. If you want to call in, you just hit that. And I'm going to try and pin that. No, I don't want to block user. That's me. I've pinned it right to the top of YouTube. So let's check it on out. Hi, Siegel says, BBD Warrior, how are you? And we go from there. We'll have some cool conversation coming on up. I see people starting to line up. So just sit pretty. When we come back from break here in about 90 seconds, I'll reintroduce the show, and then we'll get it going. We'll open it up to the phone lines. Ooh, gorgeous magic maiden. How are you? Oh, there's Grant Baker. The Grant Baker. You know, we're going to convince Grant. He's coming to Vegas. He's decided he's coming to our Vegas party, April 22nd to 24th. We're going to convince him to grow a badass mustache just for that event. Just for that event. I am convinced of it. Convinced of it that we can do it. Who else is game for that? I'm game for it. All right. The Unknown, how you doing? Hey, welcome from Fade to Black. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on in. The Unknown. You can hang out with us for a couple of hours if you want. Lee Pepping, how you doing, buddy? Just making sure I didn't miss anybody. We got about 20 seconds here. Mark Truth Seeker, what's happening? TMI, good to have you here. All right, here we go, everyone. Hour 2, right now.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nopathia. Nopathia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Now, originally we had our guest Jesse Peak from Mufon, Pennsylvania, coming on for a couple of hours, but he is getting over COVID, and we are literally going to have to say goodnight to him because he just started not feeling very good. Hey, it happens. People get ill, but nonetheless, the show must go on. And so we're opening up the phones and the lines to some of you out there who may have some experiences or questions we want. We're going to get right to it right now. The man from ERRT Radio. How are you? Thank you for joining us on Spaced Out Radio.
How you doing, Dave Scott? What an interesting show. First time listener during the week. I listened to Michael W. Hall on Sunday, and or I have anyway. And I know Jesse. He's a personal friend of mine. So really genuine person, and I pray for his quick recovery and his family as well. And anyway, I had a question about what he's studying on the electrical interference of UFOs. Grandmaster kind of answered my question earlier, but I wanted to ask you anyway to see what you think. I live in the middle of cornfields in a small town of 369 people in southwestern Minnesota. Not that I'm giving any kind of location, you don't want to do that, so be careful. But anyway, I have to drive a half an hour to get to the main town where the grocery store is. And I usually do a live drive with my video using StreamYard, and I stream it to Facebook and YouTube and things like that. And today what was happening was my video dropped out. My phone signal totally dropped off. Okay? During that time that the video dropped out and my signal was lost, I had a ringing in my ear on my left side. Now, I normally have ringing in my ears from whatever, I don't know, life, I guess, whatever. And anyway, I normally have this ringing in my middle ear, not usually outside of my ear, but I heard it on my left side outside of my ear, probably about the time that my phone dropped off. You know what I mean? So, um, I didn't see any UFO. I haven't seen one yet, except maybe one that I can't explain. But I'm not calling it a UFO because I don't know what it was. So I want to be reasonable as to what I'm saying, what it is. And I explained it to Jesse before, and he said, "Well, he didn't know what it was either." But anyway, it was something. I saw something. I just don't know what. But in general, I haven't seen a UFO sighting. But now,
Okay.
do you think that could have been something that was out of my realm of vision?
No, I don't think it is. And let me ask you a question here, if you don't mind. And that is, with the ringing in your ear that just came on, was it very loud, but at the same time, it felt like your ear was plugged?
Not plugged, but it was very loud.
And only in one ear and not the other.
The major portion of it was on the left side. Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that I learned from my experiences of my own. And sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't. But from what I learned about this is that it may not be so much UFO as it is spirit, a spirit or a ghost trying to get your attention and communicate with you. And if it does happen, and I've had it actually happen many a times over the years doing this show, where all you have to do is say to it, "Hey, do you mind turning it down, please? Can you turn it down? It's really bugging me." And normally 9 times out of 10, you'll actually hear the volume of that turn from as loud as it is right down to nothing, and it'll fade right away. Now, for me, I have tinnitus.
That's
I
what I
have
have. Yeah.
I have ringing in my ears constantly. And if it wasn't for headphones, I would absolutely be in trouble in hearing a lot of the stuff. And I know I'm destined for hearing aids one day because of it. But nonetheless, I still know the difference between my tinnitus and that weird ringing that comes on in. So
Exactly.
my suggestion to you is, it's not uncommon, but next time it does happen, just say hello and just say, "Hey, is there something that you want?" You may be able to get a really good communication going if you pay attention. Or if they don't want to talk, whatever it may be, UFO or alien or
They'll turn it
ghost or
down.
spirit, they will literally turn it down.
Wow.
And like Game Vet in our chat room right now has said, he goes, "I have said not now," and the ringing stopped instantly. Yes, a lot of times people will believe that it is truly spirit or something trying to communicate with you. And if you don't want to communicate, just ask them to go away.
I like that answer because I have actually heard that from some other mediums and psychics that are been in business for a long time. So I accept that as an answer. And
Awesome.
but I just wonder why my phone was dropping out when normally it has a signal from my little town to the next town over. You know, why
Yeah.
did it cut out? You know?
Well, it may be something to do with it. It may be just at that time there is a weak signal going through your area. There are
Yeah.
so many different possibilities with that. That would be more of a natural phenomena than a supernatural type phenomena. It would be impossible, really, for us to try and figure out. My answer to that would be, it would be worth, if you're curious, just maybe call your phone company and see if there was any dropouts in their signal in that area. I get them all the time in mine, where I'll be on the phone with somebody and all of a sudden, we'll have a clear signal and all of a sudden, boom, they're gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? I was right in the middle of a concentration, with that. And I know it's not the aliens because I know where I live,
Yeah.
but
And it
that's
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you paid $1,200 or $10 for your phone. It's going to respond the same way.
You got that right. You got that
Thank
right.
you again for a great show. We'll see you next time. I'm sure I'll be back at the return.
I hope
to get you.
I hope you are. And thank you so much for coming on in. And we will see you next time. All right.
Bye-bye.
Let's take another call here. This is from Grant Baker, who's just announced as of tonight he is going to be coming on in to our Las Vegas party for all of our listeners. Everyone's invited to the Vegas party April 22nd to 24th at the Golden Nugget Casino on the old Las Vegas Strip, Fremont Street. Grant, the challenge is out, man. You got to bring a power stash to that event. You have to.
You got it. In fact, I shave my beard and my stash about once a month, and it just comes back. I shaved about 3 days ago, and as you guys can see, it's already going to be there. So what I'll do for you is I'll just, however you want me to cut it, my man, I will cut it, and I will rock whatever you want when I get there. And in fact, I just had my wife here, and she's my logistics machine. Of course, she's smarter than I am. And she's able to sit there and find out the best flights and exactly how I'm supposed to get there and what I got to do. I plan on renting a Lamborghini when I get there just so I can take you for a ride in it. It's a joke.
I've never been in one.
I've never been in one. Actually, that's a lie. I've been in one. I've been in a Gallardo. My buddy Adam has one over in Grants Pass. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So what I wanted to get on here about is I've had some experiences within the last 2 days.
You got to fill us in on this. You were going to mention it to me while over text message, but hey man, if you want to tell what's happening to you over the last couple of days, I would love to hear it.
Oh, absolutely. So I've told you about the sparkling entities that we see in the bedroom. Well, I've had 2 more of those, and they're becoming more significant. And then unfortunately I gave away my night vision goggles, and I gave it to another family member so I could try to get them interested in looking up at the stars and seeing what they can see. And of course they got them and they never used them, but then all of a sudden here I am in Klamath Falls, Oregon, and we just moved here within the last 60 days. Actually December 23rd is when, so it's a Christmas present that we got this house. And then I get here and we have an awesome jacuzzi out in the front of the house. You got to join me here one of these days. I'll supply the beer, the steaks, and whatever you want if you want to come down. But what's really interesting is right out in front of my house is a lake. And I've seen shadows of triangles out there so far. I have yet to get them on camera. I promise I'm trying. It's usually when I'm in a jacuzzi, I'm not carrying my phone with me, but they're there. And so what I'm noticing over the last week, which is something different, is in the last few months, I've noticed a major slowdown on any kind of sightings. I did have in December, like I told you before, the sparkling gentleman that tried to hold me down. The I guess people call it sleep paralysis. But I've been having those consistently. In fact, last night and the night before, I had 2 incidents of the same exact thing, except I can't see them this time.
Are they still pinning you down?
Yes, they try to, and that's what wakes me up. Is I get that feeling, and this time, instead of being awake like in December when I was telling you before, where I was awake the whole time trying to get to sleep and they would hold me down, and that's when I would catch them. This time I would wake up with that kind of oh gosh, how would I say it? It's not as much of a, it's not as big of a sensation. It's kind of like I get kind of the tingly feeling, a little bit of vibration, but then I start hearing noises. And I was like, oh, this is something I haven't heard since George, the ghost that strummed my guitar and stuff. And I was like, what is going on here? And I'd wake up. And of course, immediately, once I'd wake up, I'd look around and I just get this kind of a feeling like everything's okay, we're cool. And I'd still hear a couple noises here and there. And I mean, this house was built in, I think, 78. And so we're still getting used to the creeks, and it gets really cold up here. We're at 4,500 foot level. And so I'm like, okay, well, it's getting 60 degrees out in the daytime. It's dropping below, 26, 25 degrees or even colder A few days ago, it got to 13. So I'm expecting the house to make noises, but not these kind of noises. These are the noises that are happening. I've actually seen, the not quite the shadow people, but I get a definite feeling that they're there. So unfortunately, I'm not seeing them this time, but I'm hearing them, which is quite interesting. Go ahead.
You know what I learned on Sunday night was I was talking to someone who is extremely involved in searching for the phenomena. I'm going to keep his name private, but people would recognize his name, and called me out of the blue at like 10 o'clock on Sunday night. And I love when stuff like that happens, because usually it, like I was half asleep, man, and this phone call came in, and I'm like, got to take this. And I know when he calls me over signal, he wants to talk. Okay. And I'm all good like that. I'm all very good like that. But here was one of the interesting little narratives that he told me. When we see shadow people, and I think we've all seen shadow people, a number of us have. Apparently, according to those whom he works with, who may have government affiliation, they have learned that all shadow people are not spirits, but it could actually be remote viewers being seen in a shadow light or a shadow body. And I was taken aback by this. I was very much taken aback by this. And the idea behind this is, look, Grant, if you're having experiences, and I still think that somehow the government knows who is having experiences and who isn't. Okay.
So
And,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
but what happens, man, if all of a sudden, let's say somebody in the government knows you're having an experience, and it's a frequent experience, that they may actually be remote viewing into your house, and the shadow beings that you're seeing could actually be remote viewers checking in on what's happening with the phenomena around your home.
This is very interesting. Now,
I was blown away by that. Blown away.
Did they specify that it was just the shadow beings themselves?
Like if you see a dark shadow being that kind of looks like a black cloud or something, I'm not saying like the Hat Man or something along those lines where you see like the human body in a shadow, but there's a lot of times where we see these clouds, these black clouds, just kind of hovering in a corner or by a tree or something along those lines. That not all the time, but there could be one or two of those times where you're actually being remote viewed on. Because remember, when remote viewers or astral travelers are looking around, they're picking up the signals that we give up. And if they know that you are attracting the phenomena, you give off a signal.
So there was oh gosh, back in, I don't remember what war it was, World War II, when they tried the remote viewing thing to try to see how the war was going to go and everything else. I'm probably way off on when that happened, and I know remote viewing is the government has used that before. You could look on History Channel, and they had one of those specials about it and stuff, and you hear other people talk about it, and I don't remember the code name for that kind of thing. Oh man, was it Looking Glass? I think
could have been.
Yeah, I think it was Looking Glass, and they were actually able to remote view further than just checking on us. So the Looking Glass was something that was way further past what we're talking about now, but it does actually make sense. What's really interesting is we've seen a lot of the shadow people, and including my wife, like I was telling you before, and we've also seen the shimmering people, the people that are made of kind of like like shimmery glitter, water, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Well, it's changed. So 2.5 months ago in December when I was moving up here and I had the last shimmer person I seen. I'm having a different feeling now, and I think and what's really interesting is a lot of the UFO activity that I have noticed has been kind of dead, so to speak. I haven't been seeing it as much. I haven't been noticing as much things in the sky. And of course, when I look at, or when I go out all the time and look for it, and you never see it. But it's those random times that I do. Well, now it's been nothing. All I'm having is the in-home, this is what's going on, just kind of a basic, I'm going to wake you up in the middle of the night for no reason and then make some noise in the house, and then all of a sudden I go back to sleep. I don't have any weird danger, like something's wrong kind of feeling. I wake up, I notice the noise, I notice the movement, and then all is gone. And so if they're checking on us, it kind of makes me wonder why they're doing that so much or so frequently now. And maybe things are escalating. I mean, I would love to know the truth, obviously, as everybody else would. But yeah, and go ahead.
We got to get Merle and Jacob Rice and Ross Allison down to your house and check it on out, man. We got to do that. And it's definitely, yeah, you need some Merle time down there. You need some Merle time. We'll make time. We'll make time. Game Vet wants to know, do you hear music tones or screaming during sightings or after?
No. So what's really interesting is I've never heard music. I've heard this before too. The screaming I hear with more paranormal things with other people. I've never actually heard that. The one interesting thing that I do hear, and I've actually asked quite a few people this. Dave, have you ever heard someone scream your name throughout your life?
Well, I mean, non-human, no.
No, like, so nobody around you says anything. You could be anywhere and someone just screams your name.
Like, are you saying, like, if I'm in a group of people?
It could be a group of people. You could be out in the woods. It doesn't matter.
No.
And the interesting thing about this is I've heard my name yelled to me, and it catches your attention, obviously, because you're hearing your name. And I have a very interesting name. I mean, not too many people are named Grant besides Grant Cameron and about 7 other people in the last 42 years that I've met. So what's really interesting is I've heard people scream my name and they're like, Grant. And I'll look around and be like, and I know that nobody said it. And the reason why is because it's not like, so you hear it, but you don't. You're not using your ears to hear this. It's more inside your head. And I've dealt with that. I remember the first time I had it, I was probably in about 5th grade, maybe 6th grade, somewhere around there. And I was in the auditorium. I remember everything that was about it. I just heard my name yelled to me. And I looked around, and I mean, we were all sitting there. We weren't doing much. We were just kind of going through this, get back to school kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay. And nobody knew me. And I heard my name. I hear that all the time. Someone is yelling my name. It's happened probably at least a dozen times between then and now. And it's about once every 2-3 years I'll hear that.
Really? No, the only time that I've heard anybody close to me have that was my buddy Mike. We ended up doing an episode on that through Canada's Great Unknown, the channel Merle and I have. We did a story about Mike on that and what he had heard. And I would highly suggest you listen to that, because that's kind of what happened to him. But he heard my voice in the forest. He did not, and it was emanating all around him. It wasn't coming from a specific direction. The sound was in his head. It was in his skin. It was all around him outside, and he's in the middle of nowhere where this is happening. There's no other people around. It's just him, a gravel pit, and wilderness. Grant, I'm going to get you to hold on. I want to ask you more questions if you got some time.
Yeah, I got time. I'm cleaning the garage, man. I'm good.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. All right. We're going to continue on with callers into our studio tonight. We never do this. We literally never do this, but tonight we are. So we're going to continue it on here on Spaced Out Radio till the top of the hour. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller is going to be with us. We got our good man, Super Duke, World Bigfoot Radio. Stay tuned. All right, 1 second here. Look who it is. It's the How are you? Long time no talk by one of my good listeners. Well, that's a nice mustache you got, man.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. How you been doing, champ? You're doing great.
Yeah.
Look at them sideburns. Holy cow. You're growing quite a beard there.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing I can't do is connect like you can, my man. I can't connect. You got a great connection.
You've been listening to us now for what, about 4 years, 5 years? Yeah. You know what? We always like it when you're here, man. We always like it when you're here. Anytime. Yeah. You staying up late tonight, partying with the ladies, or what?
Yeah.
Good.
Right on, man.
Good.
Mm.
How's your online radio station going? Going okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's awesome. That's awesome. How's mom and dad good?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Cheers to mom and dad.
Absolutely. I know you were on hold there for a while, but we were talking about some stories. You still got ghosts hanging around?
Yeah.
Good.
They treating you nice though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. How about them aliens? You going for any rides with the aliens there, champ?
No.
No. Hey, I know you're a big wrestling fan. Are you doing okay after Scott Hall passed away yesterday?
Yeah.
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 I know you were a big NWO guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. My favorite was when they convinced Hulk Hogan to switch on over, man. That was still my favorite, one of my favorite moments in wrestling. Yeah.
A long time ago.
Oh yeah. I can't believe that's 22 years, like 20 years ago. 22 years ago. That Hogan.
It well.
People were literally crying when that happened. Like, no, not Hulk Hogan. Not Hulk Hogan. The champ, though, here, I mean, he'd drop an elbow on Hogan. He would totally drop an elbow on Hogan.
He'd handle him no problem now. Not a problem.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still jealous of the mustache this guy can grow.
I know.
And the fact is, it connects right here. I'm still jealous.
I cannot grow a mustache like that. I'm a little jealous of that.
I am definitely jealous. You rock, my man.
All right, champ, we're gonna let you go because I gotta get other people in here. But thanks for calling in. Okay. All right, we'll do it again soon. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, take care, buddy. All right.
Thank you.
That's the champ. We love the champ around here. He has been listening to me for 5 years.
Oh, we need to make a T-shirt for him.
Yeah. We'll get something. Yeah. I'll have to. Hey, champ, send me your email or send me a private message with your address on it, and I'll send you an El Ovni Volador shirt. Okay?
Oh, yes.
He'll get it done for me. He'll get it done.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll get Champ's address. He'll email me. Love him. Love him. All right, we got about what are you drinking there? You got the buble going on?
No, it's just canned water.
Canned
I wish
water.
it was something better. It's it's death by water. So
Nice. Yeah, I was a good dad on Sunday before that phone call. Got my 19-year-old daughter just wrecked on martinis. It was hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
Hold on, here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you. Thank you for tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, do us a favor, check our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We're taking phone calls from our fans tonight. I never do this, but hey, our first hour guest, Jesse Peak, is just healing himself up from battling COVID. And you know what? He's like, Dave, I'm not feeling well. Can we cut it down to an hour? Of course, I'm that kind of guy. I said, sure, man. And we open up the phone lines, and we're having a good time tonight. One of our former guests, and he'll be in Vegas for our SOR fan party. Grant Baker from the beautiful state of Oregon is here. Grant, welcome back, man.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So right before the break, man, you were talking about these glittery people.
Yes.
You know, I mean, how often are you seeing them?
It is actually, this is why I was wanting to talk to you about it, is because they're getting more often. And it's not only the glittery people. You had a former guest on your show before, and I was able to get on the super chat and ask, hey, this is what I'm seeing. What is this? And he said it was the grays. I've seen only one gray, and that was when I was 5 years old. And that's the last time. And of course, I have a little bit of missing time, I think. I have not gotten regressed or anything like that, but it kind of makes sense because, you know, I've heard, I listen to everything from Jimmy Church, who you just had on, and Nicole Sackage, and all your guests that you have. I listen to Grant Cameron and all these great people. And the reason why I listen to it is because I'm trying to validate the things that I've seen. And it came out to me where I was like, and that's the reason why when I told you my story, I was like, hey, I think this might be real. One of the biggest things I think they have the ability to do is to change the appearance, the way they present themselves to you. And I think that guy might be right. I wish I could remember. I'm sorry. I was just cleaning my garage, so I can't go back and look and do notes and everything. But the gentleman that you were talking to, he's like, oh, that's a gray. And I'm like, that makes sense. Like, they're coming to you in a way that's not going to threaten you, scare you, or anything else. And then I go outside, and of course, now I'm in a different town, and I have a body of water. I don't have a lot of iron in the soil, and I do check that. And because I believe they're kind of, they like iron, they like water. And but I've seen a few things in the sky that I can't prove that was something non-military. I live next to an Air Force base. So everything I see here is kind of subject to, are they doing something crazy? I mean, it is the second largest runway on the West Coast. that I live next to, I'm literally 10 minutes away from it. And so I can't prove anything in the skies now, unfortunately. But yeah, I've been seeing a lot of the activity is what I want to just say is the activity is rising. I noticed a lull in it for the last year. I've had a few kind of exciting things happen, but recently it's starting to pick up. Whether that's some people's philosophy, and I've talked to other people about this, where they're like, oh, there's the war in other countries. I'm not going political at all. And they're kind of interested in what's going on. So, and literally within the last couple of weeks, when those things have been happening, I've been getting a lot more activity.
Has the activity energy changed? So, like before, I mean, you being an ET experiencer, you know that feeling. You've had paranormal, you know that's a heavier feeling. What kind of feeling are you getting that it is?
Is flighty is about the only expression I can. They're not making themselves known. They're not being as apparent as they normally have been. They're not being as bold. It's more of a cautious, I would say. Like, let's say you're going into a house that you don't know. It's middle of the night. You don't have a flashlight or anything. All you have is your phone. And let's even say you have a phone without a backlight on it. And so you're just trying to use the light of the screen. And that's what it feels like. They're there, they're making themselves known, but it's more light. It's not as pressure.
I want to bring Super Duke here from World Bigfoot Radio. He's hanging on out, and his segment is coming up here soon. Super Duke, I know you are kind of I know there's no experts in this field, but you're pretty close to being an expert in the world of cryptids, if I do say so myself. And I know you hate that term, but I'm going to use it anyways because I can. This is my show. Okay.
Okay. That's fine, Dave. You're allowed.
When
hey,
you
Super
hear,
Duke.
Hey, Grant.
When you hear Grant talk about these glittery type people or these glittery type entities that are around, have you heard of these before?
Absolutely. And I recommend you get Bigfoot in Germany, Robert Boston, on again, because he ran into that a lot over in Germany and even filmed them a few times. And yeah, it looks a lot like the Predator thing, only it's not as pixelated looking. It's more like glittery looking. And
exactly.
Yeah. The other thing is that it's kind of confusing at this point, because we do know that there's military equipment that you can wear on you that will bend the light around you and sort of facilitate the same thing. So if you're not seeing a gigantic glittery object, it could be a human.
No, everything that the last one I seen was the one that was laying next to me when I was over at my brother-in-law's house here in Klamath Falls. And I was actually just moving to this place. He works, he does, he's a nurse. The guy that flies in the helicopter and saves people. He's amazing. But I was at his house, and I actually thought there was deer on the other side of the wall. So I kept banging on the wall, trying to get him to shut up. The next morning, there's no deer there. I didn't see any lay downs, no tracks, nothing. And I started getting that hard feeling of being kind of like pushed down where they want it. My wife can't move. She will literally mouth open. Her whole body is solid. I've gone past that, and I know I can move. But when I turned over, it was laying right next to me, like perpendicular to me, and kind of on its shoulder, just kind of with its head up, looking at me. And I was like, "Dude, get out of here!" I was actually annoyed because I'm trying to go to sleep. I heard the deer, try to get them to shut up, and then this happened. So I was a little bit annoyed at the same time. And I told them to go away, and I just kind of swiped through it. So when I swipe through them, though, I don't feel anything physically. I don't have a physical sensation of them. But what they do is it's actually kind of spectacular. They just kind of explode, and it's literally like watery. It's
that's
almost
not
like
that's not any human-made cloaking technology there. That's some sort of cryptid thing that's going on, and probably some sort of an energy being. And some people say that Bigfoot can astrally project too, and sometimes when you see orbs, that's what it is.
so.
As far as other things, I've heard all kinds of weird things. So, but it more than likely it's some other thing or cryptid.
So
Would
let
be
me
my
ask you a
guess.
question real quick. Now that I got you here, when I saw Bigfoot, did you hear that story?
No, I actually missed a little. Were you just telling it because I was like connecting everything up, so I missed part of what you were talking about tonight.
No, this
Gotcha.
is when I
So
interviewed him a few weeks ago.
Not sure, but I will say one thing. You're in Klamath now. Are you aware of the fact that extremely heavy sighting area for Bigfoot?
yes, in fact, about an hour and a half away, or 105 miles as the crow flies, Grants Pass. They're national. Like if you go to Grants Pass, they have a huge Bigfoot and a caveman guy that it's a statue. So I mean, it's all around us. But I used to live in Shasta County for most of my life,
Okay.
and that's where I
Yeah,
was
that's
seeing it.
another real paranormal hotspot there. You've not only got all kinds of Bigfoot sightings, you got UFOs and the
Mhm.
Lemurians that supposedly live inside of
Yep,
Mount Shasta and all that kind of
yep.
stuff going on.
Oh yeah, I'm taking a trip to Mount Shasta here soon to find out a little bit more about that. The only unfortunate thing about the Lemurians is it seems to be a solidarity thing, where you got to be out there and you kind of got to be in distress and whatnot. And I know about the mounds. I know a lot about Mount Shasta. I can drive 5 minutes away from my house because I have hill between me and Shasta, but I have not moved from Mount Shasta. I mean, I've always been within 45 minutes of that place. And the things that I've seen there is quite ridiculous. And
Oh,
in
wow.
fact, I was going to tell you where to find the orbs, because I know exactly where to find those. And yeah, and if you want to come down here, I will literally take the week off, and I own my own business, so I can do whatever I want. But I will show you something that every single person that's ever been there will hear it, see it, feel it. It's very interesting. I don't know what to call it. I don't even know how to specify it.
Well,
I had friends that seen the orbs, but Bigfoot, I've seen him within 30 feet.
yeah. Well, it could actually happen. One of my research team members wants to go and make a little side trip over to Hell's Canyon and a couple places further west of us. And I might be able to convince him to drive even yet further over to where you are. So,
Hell's Canyon, where's that at?
Idaho,
Okay, so
Snake River Canyon.
okay, all right.
It's
We're
the
in the same
place
spot.
Evil Knievel was going to jump, and his rocket cycle didn't make it all the way.
Gotcha. So I actually was a Type 2 wildland firefighter for a few years there, back in, oh gosh, 06, 7, and 8. Yeah, 6, 7, and 8. And we went to Hell's Canyon, and we actually fought a fire in the snow. Believe it or not, it was kind of weird. But anyways, yeah, there's some very there's some very interesting things up there, and I'm very familiar with the Snake River. Snake River goes through Oregon as well.
Yep.
And
I had
yeah,
two guests on my show that both live in that area. They're both pastors, and they not only do cryptid investigations, but of course they have to deal with exercising obnoxious entities and whatnot. And those guys,
really.
between the two of them, had so many stories. It was a 4-part show.
Wow.
I'm in the right spot.
Yeah, that's the Magic Valley. That's a really creepy place. And they had one of the things they were telling me about that was very disturbing is there's a cave down actually in the Snake River Canyon down there that they've known about for years and years and years, and people avoid it. And a family went there camping and went in the cave, and they all disappeared and never came back again. And especially since then, everybody has been avoiding it. And there's a whole series of these lava tubes that are all connected that are just, who knows how long they are. Nobody's ever explored all of them. This is one of them. And they call this particular cave the Cave of the Whistling Bear.
The whistling
Wow.
bear.
Yeah, I know something that looks like
Never
a
heard
bear
of
that
that.
whistles. It's called a gugwe, and it'll eat your face.
You're just so direct with that. Hi, I'm a Gugway. I'm going to eat your face off.
Yeah, that's one of the nicknames for them is face eaters. Literally, that's one of the nicknames for those things.
Wow.
And
See,
so that's
I
a good
mean,
place to avoid. If you hear anything, name of like Cave of the Whistling Bear or something, avoid that area.
yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
I definitely will. I do have a question for you though, and I've asked this quite a few times. So there's a place over in Grants Pass. Of course, Grants Pass has a lot to do with the the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, however you want to call it. And in fact, I'm the only one. If you actually go there, and it's in Cave Junction, Oregon. If you go there, it's kind of a printing shop / Sasquatch Bigfoot shop. It's kind of a 2-in-1. And if you look through their book, and they have a map there with all these pins, and I have my pin there. I am the only one that has descriptions, days, times, location, everything written in, because they have this. It's a huge almanac, and you have the ability to fill in all these spaces, and I filled in every one of them. The one thing that I noticed about what I filled in that was different with everybody else was my Sasquatch or Bigfoot was gray. He wasn't fat like the oh gosh, what's that video that everybody looks at with the one that's walking? It's a female and looks back, and
Patty.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Patty
Yeah.
film.
Yes. So mine was nothing like that. It was gray. It was built. He was tall. Of course, I was 20 years younger, but 30 years now. But I mean, he was very tall, and the way he moved was so graceful. I mean, you can look at ice skaters and be like, I can hear your ice skates. This guy could run through Manzanita, and I barely even heard him. I had to track him with my eyes. Have you ever come across anything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the ways you can tell the real video from the fake video. When you've got one actually moving, they don't bob up and down like humans do when we walk. They look like they're gliding. Their head stays at the same level all the time. Exactly. And they can move very fast and not make any noise.
Exactly.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Grant, I'm going to let you go here because we have another call coming in. Thank you for joining us and sharing those stories. But
thanks, Grant.
I'm going to make sure that we get you hooked up with Merle and Jacob and Ross, and we'll try and get a team down there. By the way, I timed it from my house to yours, 14 hours and 18 minutes.
I'm a little far away. Hey, but I will see you in Vegas.
Yes, we'll make it happen. I think Ross Allison is going to be in Vegas with us for the SOR fan party, and if he is, we'll get together because I know they love road trips, guys. I know they love road trips, and we'll make something happen for you, okay? All right. Thank you, Grant. And we're going to bring in Uncle Dale and his beautiful power stash here. And Uncle Dale's power stash, by the way, brought to you by every taco stand in Austin, Texas. How are you, Uncle Dale? We can't hear you. You're going to have to turn your microphone up. I don't know where you went there, but we cannot hear you.
The screen moved.
Yeah, he's just working on it right now. But while we're waiting for Uncle Dale, those glittery things, man, that really has me interesting. That has me real interested.
Yeah, the only reason I even stumbled on that thing is because my first sighting apparently was one of those things, and it never, any Bigfoot report or anything that I heard, they never described that. And then I started finding these other weird reports and went, wait, what's going on here? There's some other thing running around. So then, yeah, dug into it, and the what do they call it? The Confederation, two tribes, Penobscot and Passamaquoddy, over on the East Coast, Micmac Confederation, were the ones that actually named it. And then I started branching out from there and looking at other nearby tribes and what they had name wise, and they all
Right.
had the double or triple thing going on where they had a name that was obviously Bigfoot, but they would
Right.
have another or maybe even two more names of these other weird things.
Right. Let's try and get Uncle Dale back in here because you may have got. Are you there? Well, I can't hear you. Is your microphone off? Are your headphones turned on? The headphones are on. I don't know what's happening. Look at that mustache, though, of Uncle Dale. I wish our radio audience could see this because that is just the perfect pirate stash with the chin hair going down. He's got the Elizondo thing going on. And you know what? We love our Uncle Dale here. He's been a long-time fan of the show. And I don't know what's happening. We were just communicating on StreamYard with him on the weekend, and I don't know what the heck is going on here. I don't think it's on my end. Let me check my end. Is it in your mic settings? No, your mic settings are good. We got you cranked on up there. I don't know what it is. You might want to check on StreamYard. Take yourself out. Check yourself in the settings on StreamYard on the bottom bar, Dale, and see if your microphone in the audio section is hooked up to your headset. That might be what it is. So, apparently it is. I don't know what's going on, but I don't read hand signals or I don't read lips very well. I really don't. And I'm a little upset about this. I wanted Uncle Dale to be here. I got all excited. Like Uncle Dale was going to join us. The best part about it for our YouTube audience, if you're watching in here, is we get to just stare at that power stash. That's the type of power stash that the ladies walk by him and say, "Ooh, Uncle Dale, I want to rub that. I know I'm going to get good luck right through tax time. I know that."
For the radio audience that can't see him, if you put the Three Musketeers outfit on this guy, he would be D'Artagnan.
Yeah. Oh, total D'Artagnan. Total D'Artagnan. You know, total D'Artagnan. But it is kind of cool. But I apologize, Uncle Dale. I don't know what's going on in your end there. But, the beauty of live radio as we speak, and Uncle Dale waved goodbye and good night. But man, what a beautiful mustache. What a beautiful mustache. You know what? Believe it or not, Duke, so we got about 2 minutes left. There are a number of people out there who've actually sent me private messages saying, "Why do you always talk about hair or a mustache or a beard or something like that? It's weird. Why do you do that?" And my answer usually is, because I can. Seriously, like, are we to the point in society now where we cannot, just have some fun, where we got to be so wound up and serious all the time? Like, literally, it doesn't happen much anymore, but I know it's weird, but why not? Why do we have to be straight up? We could just have some fun. You know what I'm saying, Duke?
Yeah, life is too short to be boringly serious all the time.
Oh,
and speaking of not boring or not serious, it was so awesome watching you on Jimmy Church's show, and then watching Jimmy on your show last night, and seeing the contrast in the two interviewing styles. And I was just sitting there the whole time grinning, going, "This is like a very rare experience where the host and the guest have both been on my show." Although Dave is up on Jimmy because he's been on twice. Jimmy's only been on once.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I had a great time. And that was really, believe it or not, the second time Jimmy and I have talked. We talked once on the phone a week previous. Everything else was done online. And then we got together on the air. And you know what? It felt very comfortable. Jimmy is a pro. He is someone who knows how to ask questions, who knows how to work a microphone, knows how to work the audience. And, there was some humor in there. There was some serious talk in there, but it was just a couple of old radio guys going in. And the funny part about it is I can't believe how much him and I actually have in common, from, obviously the love of guitars. He's way more. We were both sports reporters. It just a lot in common. And now we go in different directions with the woo, but we both love this topic very much. We're going to come back in hour 3 with the Swamp Dweller, and Super Duke's going to continue with us on Spaced Out Radio with the Cryptid Report. All right, we're clear.
Right on.
Let me delete that track. The swamp tonight is about 6 minutes 49 seconds.
Well, luckily for you, I have a myriad of mountain giants to relate tonight. Mountain giant stories. And the other thing that I'd like to bring up, and here's some serendipity and synchronicity for you. There's 2 big words.
Oh, I like that.
Your former guest, Robin McRae, who's been on your show twice,
yes,
was just on my show Sunday. And one of the things she was presenting was that she just put out a Mufon report, which they're calling a class 1. Recently, her son-in-law was on her porch filming UFOs at night.
No way.
The video is very spectacularly good video, which is why they were so impressed by it. So here during one of the breaks, if you want to show your audience, it's on the latest video. It's at 39 minutes.
Why don't we do that when instead of going to the 8 ball tonight? Why don't we do it after that?
Okay. Well, if you show it during the break, you can, the YouTube audience sees it, and there's no narration or anything. It's just pictures and video, but it's free use pictures and video. So if you show it during a break, they can actually hear the video too.
Okay, let me come back here in about a minute, Duke. You hang out with the audience. I got to go use the boys' room.
Okay, and then when he comes back, I got to go do the same thing. So, hey, everybody, if you want questions or anything, quick, post them. I'm watching chat. I agree, Stu. Wasn't that cool? And Jimmy is one of those people. He's not only really great at interviewing people, he's also a great guest. And, he stays right on top of it. He's really fun to listen to, tells the story very, way more than adequately. So, yeah, he's a blast. I hope they have more collaborations between Dave and Jimmy coming up here. Okay, Zen. Let's just hope he doesn't get mugged by El Ovni Volador while he's in there. That happens sometimes. Greg, they come from mommies. Race fan. I have not heard any recent ones from Washington State. No, but they're happening over there all the time. I'm just not paying that much attention to, reports on a day-by-day basis because I'm so busy with other things. I really don't have that much time to pay attention to it. If you're interested in reports, of course, you've got the BFRO database. And for the unbiased, no agenda Bigfoot reports, there's a website called squatchable.com. And they've got everything, as far as I know, from the BFRO's database and a lot of their own stuff too. And they organize it by state and by county. So you can search a particular state and county to see if there's been any reports in your particular area. Giorgio Tsoukalos does his hairstyle by hanging upside down like a bat when he's sleeping at night. Ray, what do you think of Expedition Bigfoot? It's a TV show. It's scripted. It's not real. Raz, would I go one-on-one with a Bigfoot? You mean like fight one? No human could fight a Bigfoot and win. A baby Bigfoot could rip us apart. All right, good night, Enzo. Night, Kira.
Got a good glow of the northern lights going out here.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, we were supposed to have that little burp from the sun hitting us last night and today, so we were supposed to get some northern light.
Hey, Uncle Dale is back.
Yeah, I wiggled some cables and sacrificed a small insect, and I think it's working now.
Okay, what we will do then is once we get through Swamp Dweller, we'll come back with Uncle Dale, and then Duke will take over here, okay?
All right, buddy. That good, because I'm going to go have a cigarette.
All right, you go. Uncle Dale, I'm going to put you back in the back room, okay?
Great, thanks.
All right. Uncle Dale is back, everybody. The power stash lives. All he did was give a couple of these, and holy cow, it just started working. All right. Paula W., looking lovely tonight. How are you?
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nopathia. Nopathia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time once again where we head into the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller comes on in for another spooky story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I'm from somewhere in the southeastern United States. This story isn't like most you've read or heard. This wasn't a sighting, it was a sound. A horrific sound. So, I was at my deer stand waiting. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon. I've never gotten a deer out of that stand or seen one, but it was getting dark, so I got my rifle ready, because that's around the time the deer come out. So I'm sitting there, and I hear what sounds like a train horn blaring in the woods, but it was deeper in pitch. This sound shook the stand and me to the core, but the worst part was what came after the sound of sticks breaking. I've heard every noise in the woods from squirrels to hogs, but that sound was like a herd of buffalo stampeding through the woods. The strangest part was, I asked my uncle and my grandfather if they've ever heard the noise, or if they even heard the noise that day since they were out there with me. They had heard nothing that day and said they have never heard anything like it. So, Then we headed out, and I haven't heard that noise ever since, but I will report back if I ever have another experience. I know my story was short, but thank you for sharing it anyway. This story takes place around 2 or 3 years ago near the border of Louisiana and Texas. My uncle owns property around that area and uses it as a hunting ground. I've been there multiple times in the past because he needed help clearing out trees. I have even hunted there once and was able to nab a nice doe. On the morning of the encounter, we arrived at the place at around 4 a.m. This campsite had an opening that went to a small little trail. This is where my uncle and I set up our tent. The opening leads to 3 main clearings, all leading to feeders. As you may be well aware of, hunting asks for a lot of patience and avid listening, and we did just that. Nothing out of the ordinary happens until around 3 hours after we had arrived. The 20-degree weather was beginning to warm up, but not enough to keep my hands and feet from shivering. The woods are a beautiful sight to behold. Nature is the main reason why I loved going hunting in the first place, after all. I stared down the scope of my rifle and scanned the area, searching for any woodland creatures and examining the beauty around me. As I look around, something catches the eye. Mind you, if I hadn't been looking around so much through the scope, I wouldn't have seen this thing. It is hard to explain, but it looked like a piece of wood with the proportions of the upper part of a torso and a head. At the time, it didn't strike me as something out of the ordinary. It simply looked like a part of the wood's foliage, yet I was for some reason drawn to it. I even had a funny thought that if I looked away and looked back, it would have changed positions. Due to this random thought, I checked up on the thing every 10 to 15 minutes. Every time I would move my crosshair over it, the scenery seemingly remained the same. Around an hour later, I continued my newfound routine. Once I looked over to where the thing was supposed to be at, I noticed it was gone. After looking over to the same spot of the woods for around an hour, I knew that particular spot very well, and knew for sure that that thing had just disappeared. I'm sure some listeners will wonder why this is a worthy story to even tell. What I would like you all to take note of is that that thing did not move an inch. It remained completely still for over an hour, and I hadn't seen the slightest bit of change. If it were alive, why would it have just stayed like that? The appearance was very off-putting as well, now that I think about it. The more I try to picture it, the less it makes sense. It was sort of out of focus. Maybe this is why I was drawn to it, a slight difference between the rest of the scenery. Again, I would like to preface how hard it is to even see this thing. I was really looking around the place and just so happened to look directly at this thing. If anybody has any idea what this thing could be, let me know in the comments down below. I am a child of the mountains. My hometown was completely mountainous, so I spent most of my childhood running through the forest and stuff. And one event that happened when I was 10 kinda remained unexplained. I was on top of the ridge several feet above my house when I started hearing my biological father yelling. I'm adopted but was allowed to see him frequently. In our very redneck area, he had a very distinctive voice with no accent, so it's really not possible to confuse him for anybody else. His voice was coming from the other side of the ridge, which is a bit weird in retrospect because nobody lived over that way and everybody avoided that area. Even when hunting, we'd go around. The terrain was just too bad to deal with. Lots of thick brush and sudden drops. I started hearing him calling my name, so I started going down anyway. It's not a good area, but I've been through it a time or two during the winter when less vegetation means easier navigation. The voice wasn't really getting closer, but it was getting louder, and then this feeling of dread washed over me as I suddenly remembered my father was on a business trip to Germany. I've never run so fast. I didn't realize it until I got to the other side of the ridge, but the forest had been completely silent on the other side of the ridge, which never happens unless there are predators around or the wind picks up. Normally, I think I was just getting too close to a black bear or something, but the voice obviously makes it confusing. Unlike a number of stories like this I've heard over the years, the experience didn't really stop me from going into the woods. It made me more curious about the other side of the ridge, resulting in the occasional expeditions into it. Though I never heard or saw anything else, and eventually the mountains itself were destroyed for a new highway, probably around 2008, 8-ish years later, going right through the center of the place where the voice was coming from.
All right, another great addition from our man, the Swamp Dweller, and you can find him on YouTube at youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. And before we get to Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio to continue with the Cryptid Report, we got Uncle Dale and his power stash back here on Spaced Out Radio. All he had to do was put a little lube on the mustache to make his microphone work, and hot dang it did. Uncle Dale, how you doing, man?
Hey, awesome, dude. How are you doing, Dave?
I am great. Thank you for joining us. You got a story?
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff over the years that like was a rocket. Interest went up and then like thud. You never heard anything about it after that.
Sure.
So I want to get your take on a couple things.
Okay.
Hybrids. Alien-human hybrids called hybrids. That was a thing for a while with art.
You know what?
Take on that at all?
You know what? I do recall that hybrid's name, but I think the way everything has gone is everything is kind of morphed into the hybrid and the hybridization program, that I think they've eliminated the analogy as more people have come out to be hybrid mothers, hybrid fathers, hybrid. You don't hear a lot of people coming out saying, I'm a hybrid. We don't hear that, but you do hear a lot of people talking about, going up in spacecraft and visiting their hybrid children or having hybrid children, or, having their semen taken or their eggs taken in order to create these whatever the hell they are. So I think it's one of those part of the phenomena that's just kind of morphed into the hybrid zone.
That makes sense. Okay. You remember Mad Mike Markham and his time machine with the fields that were rotating and all the electronics going off and the laser beams?
Yes.
So we heard from him a couple times on Art Show, and then poof. I mean, did he take off again for another 10 or 15 years into the future, or have you heard anything about that?
Mad Mike Markham. Okay. I do recall hearing there was an article about him. Oh, geez, about a year or two ago, where he's still flaunting the same story. Whether or not he is still around or doing interviews. I think he kind of had his moment in the sun when Art Bell was around, and he felt safe with Art. I mean, with the amount of shows that there are now, we don't get a lot of those, Streetlight Mike type of people anymore. Right?
I was just going to ask you about that.
Okay. So for people who I'll fill people in here, sometimes you get real beauties on this show, and a couple of the memorable ones were going to be the one where this gentleman kept on calling in aliens at any time he wanted because they would chase off the men in black, and he was telling us a story about how he got cornered in a cul-de-sac after a high-speed chase by the men in black, and he called in the aliens, and the spaceship appeared from over top of his car. The men in black went running. That was a beauty. And I apologize, I don't even remember the guy's name. But then there was Streetlight Mike, who came on in, and he had a 23-second episode of his streetlight that he claimed was a UFO. And Uncle Dale actually went on and spent his hard-earned $2 to buy his book. And this guy was literally stalking myself, Everett Themer, Rich Giordano, and Mark D'Antonio from Mufon about his case. And everybody who went through it told him it was a street lamp that he caught. All right, because you can see the street lamp right there. Like there's on the video that was posted, you could see the street lamp right there. But he was convinced it was aliens, and then he did all of this this photoshopping on it and zooming on in and changing all sorts of photo light synthesis and all that kind of stuff to make it look like there was actually beings inside the light bulb, which were probably moths or some sort of bug. But we ended up doing a 2.5-hour show on a street lamp video of whatever it was. I don't know. It was beautiful radio.
It was an awesome show, Dave. It was the most I've laughed in one evening in months.
Oh man, that was just, it was a rock star performance. And I don't like to belittle or bemoan our guests, but that was one where I can honestly say, if you go back in the archives and find it, it is well worth it. He never did really answer my question on whether or not he'd been taken by aliens. I mean, that's where I really wanted to go with it, because I'll be honest with you, Dale. I think he saw something that night. I do. I don't think he caught it on film. I think that he was trying to play off on the fact that he did see something, but he didn't capture it on tape. So he was trying to play off the street light in order to be it. I mean, we have, his scientist who was looking on it, his trigonometry scientist.
Yes.
He had a trigonometry science from the CIA looking at it. Well, everybody knows that there's no such thing as a trigonometry scientist. It was an interesting night. It was a very, very interesting night. And we really created some good radio that night. We really created some good radio.
Everybody go back in the archives, because this is an amazing show. It just, especially if, you're feeling a little down and you need a little something to pick you up, this will do it. It's awesome.
I got to ask you, Uncle Dale, you've been a fan of late night radio for a number of years. And you are someone who, I have a group of listeners that is very private. I call it our focus group that Uncle Dale is actually a part of. And this is where I kind of bounce a lot of radio ideas off of certain listeners that have been with our program for a long time. For you, out of everything, not that what we do or anything, but of all the radio that you heard, what is a subject that us hosts are missing? Because I know every host is different. Well, I'm not a real big science guy. I know you are, but I'm not a big science guy, or there's going to be hosts out there who aren't big on the woo or aren't big on certain topics. But what do you think we're missing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that goes to the heart of a theory that I've had for a while. And that theory is that I think whenever anything from, let's say, out there, let's say there's a box, okay, and the box is what we understand as the material world, and physics operates within the box, right? If you're going to accelerate something that has a mass, you have to push it with a force. Okay, this is science Bob stuff. My theory is that if anything outside the box, like a spirit or a dimensional being or a vibration or whatever, produces an effect inside the box, it has to do business with physics. Okay, so that means if a ghost scratches you, it has to actually produce a physical thing that scratches you. I've never heard that discussed, but that's a really awkward subject to get into because now everybody has vocabulary. What do you call a force, and what's a vibration? And it crosses the streams between woo and like with UFOs. Are they interdimensional? Are they vibrational? Are they supernatural? Are they nuts and bolts? Right? It kind of crosses that stream. So I haven't heard that, but then again, probably everybody but me would fall asleep during that show.
Oh, I hear you, man. I hear you, and I fully understand what you're saying there. But anything else? Got any other good juice for us here?
Well, just one briefly. So it was it was either 95 or 96. I was out cleaning my garage and listening to Art Bell on the radio, and he started talking about the Trumbull County, Ohio UFO incident. And this was an incident where we had dispatch tapes, police dispatch tapes from like 6 or 8 different agencies that called in, and you had police and their cruisers going out and investigating, and you had this phenomena in the sky happening over multiple counties for like 3 different hours. And I heard that on the Art Bell show, and before then I was a like woo doesn't exist guy. UFOs, no, that's just stupid. And just the whole. And I was hearing that on Art Bell, and I was supposed to be doing something, and at the end, I was just sitting down on a stool staring at the radio with all this stuff playing in my head. You're listening to the eyewitness accounts, and these are police people, right? This is not just some guy off the street. Not that that's a problem, but people we expect to have special abilities to observe accurately. And they were talking about this UFO stuff, and it converted me over to the things are stranger around here than you used to think. And so I haven't heard anything since then in the last like 10 years. And I wonder if that just came and went, or
well, I'm gonna tell you this. You heard me earlier in the show say I had a very important phone call with somebody who called me up late on Sunday, and I'm not going to give the name up, but this person is very connected to the governmental side of what's going on, and he said something to me very profound that kind of sat with me. What if you, me, Duke, who's here, or everybody else who is listening to this show, and everybody on this planet is the phenomena? And we are creating the phenomena around us because we are all part of the phenomena, which means that our spirituality, as we only got about a minute left, our spirituality, our thought process, our souls, everything is all tied to what is going on with aliens, UFOs, paranormal, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, psychic phenomena, ghosts, spirit activity, portals, everything. Because everything is the phenomena. And I have a feeling, and this is just me, I'm not going off this person's words, but I have a feeling that this is what's being studied, and this is what causes a lot of fear on what's going on. Because if everybody is part of the phenomena, how do you control it? You can't. And you'll never figure it out.
Wow.
Think
and this is why I listen to you, Dave. Right? Well, one of the reasons, because okay, it's going to take me a few days to even get my head around this idea.
Yeah. Well, you start to think about it. We're going to go to break. Super Duke and the Cryptid Reporter next. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We love it when Uncle Dale is here. Remember, if you're in Austin, Texas, and you see Uncle Dale, rub his power stash for good luck right through tax time. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. That one knocked me on my ass.
That was a blast, dude. That was fun.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That one knocked me on my ass when I was told that on Sunday.
So it's not supernatural, it's natural in like natural prime or something.
Natural phenomena. But the problem is most people haven't figured it out within themselves yet. Right? Because half the population is 5 senses.
Right. At least
Okay.
half.
Yeah. The other half is about trying to figure out what the hell is going on and why weird shit is happening to me.
Right.
All right. But this is a major rabbit hole that I plan on learning more of.
Yes, let's go there. Yes.
Right. And I'll tell you, when that was said to me, I look at everything Grant Cameron is doing
Mm-hmm.
and everything Grant Cameron is studying. Namely, he's more into the UFO side of things and the consciousness side. Okay. That's what we're talking about. Grant, 100% way ahead of his time. 100%.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thanks, man. This was fun.
No problem, Uncle Dale. Thanks for listening. I love it when you come on.
It's beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Reminds me of talking to Art. It really does. And do you know, I got on late one night, Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about Tebby star. Okay. And was it a Dyson sphere and all, that kind of stuff? And
Right.
this is the same kind of thing. So anyway, I'll get out of your hair.
Much love, buddy.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Uncle Dale and his power stash. Isn't that a beautiful mustache, Duke?
Amazing. Yeah, I like what you were just talking about too, because there's a bunch of things that tie in with that too. There was an old physics theory called spooky action at a distance, now renamed quantum entanglement. Then there is the 100th monkey experiment, and then there are tulpas. And between those three, that explains everything you just talked about.
Yeah. How can you manifest a tulpa if it's not real?
That's one of the peculiar things about humans. We seem to be one of the beings, since we're in this vibrational level and we have these other abilities we don't know about, that if enough people start believing in something, it becomes real.
Right.
And that's the same thing with the 100th monkey experiment. 100 monkeys learned how to do this one thing, and all of a sudden, all the monkeys on the islands nearby that have never been on that island and not in communication with them, all start doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Collective unconscious.
Right? It's amazing. It's amazing. Let's say hello. We got a few other people who just came in. Sage Necro, how you doing? Good to have you here. Thanks for coming on in. And who else joined us late here? Terrible Times, thank you for joining us. Mystics Walk, always a pleasure when you're here. And, I always feel bad. Like last night's show, I didn't have time to say hello to everybody. And, Super Quest, how you doing, bud? I didn't have time to say hello to everybody. I always feel guilty about that. I know I shouldn't, but I do. I kind of feel guilty about it when it happens, because I like being able to say hi to everybody in the chat room.
I don't have that luxury. I'm not live on the I'm just like live chat room, so I have to type furiously as people come in. It's really hard on my old crippled fingers.
Yeah. Sovereign Farts, yes, I do know Johnny Enoch. River Dogma, how you doing, brother? Good to have you here. Duke, if we eat up the news time, I'm okay with that.
No problem, man. Just tell me how long you want me to go. I could probably cover close to a half an hour with what I got just sitting here tonight.
Oh, there's Super Shane. Where's Merle? Merle. Hey, there's the scowling Greg O'Brien. We love Greg around here. He's awesome. One of the good dudes in this field, Greg O'Brien, everyone. Greg likes a wave, so make sure you wave at him. He always waves back. Always waves back. Tony D, good morning to you in the UK. And I want to say a big thank you tonight to Todd, Steve, Michael, Rob, Doug, Gary, and Obi Flett for the amazing super chats. It's awesome when you guys help us on out like that. We really do appreciate the love and support. Thank you to all our new subscribers. Mark Ford, how you doing? Welcome to our chat. And thank you to all our new subscribers who've hit the thumbs up, rang the bell, hit subscribe. And, of course, all the veterans out there, you always have a safe home here in our chat room. So thank you so much for your service and dedication, and thank you for joining us in our chat. Here we go with the final half hour. We pass. Oh my gosh! You know, sometimes the fans make me laugh. I was trying to hold on. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott, and so
that is one of the best comments ever.
The Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is here, and one of our listeners, Doug Shelby, goes and puts up a comment in our chat room and says, "I've got okay long hair, not as good as Dave's (in brackets grr), but my facial hair is scraggly and mostly gray, and it looks like I stepped in dog poo." You know, sometimes you just get caught off guard with things that make you laugh. And that's exactly what's happened. So if you're listening in on the radio side, come join us for the fun sometime on our YouTube channel where we are live and hanging on out. It always is a blast, you know. And so thank you. A reminder to all of you, thank you for tuning in. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get to Super Duke here. All right, Super Duke is always coming on in with another interesting take from the cryptid world history lesson tonight on the Cryptid Report. Super Duke, how you been doing at World Bigfoot Radio?
Doing great, Dave. I've been keeping really busy, and a lot of my friends have been contacting me going, "Hey, I'm working on this documentary." And I'm like, what the heck is going on with you guys? You got like 5 of you that are all doing different documentaries all at the same time. Well, this will be fun. You're putting out stuff I'll want to watch. So that's really cool.
You know what? That brings up a good point. Everybody and their dog seems to be doing documentaries these days. Seriously.
I know.
I'm going to go ask my dogs right now why they aren't filming any documentaries.
Well, one of them's actually leaking parts of it already to get people's attention to it. And I was just blown away by it because these guys are like professional, super high grade TV production, that kind of stuff. And, the people that were doing the show actually they had to ask permission of the researchers. It wasn't like, you know, oh, hey, we're super cool, you want to be on our show. It was like, oh, mighty researchers, can we film you? And they had more than one company that was, in competition to want to do this stuff with them. And they just picked the one that they liked the most, basically. And they got a good pick there. Those guys are doing turn out some really interesting stuff there, really high quality.
You know what I don't like about the whole documentary thing, okay, is this. I think anybody should do it. If you got a great idea and you've got a real concept of what you want to film, go for it. You know, it never hurts to have a number of documentaries or podcasts or YouTube channels out there. But you know what? this is what I don't like. There was a documentary put out on Sasquatch about a year and a half ago. And the director and producer is a very good friend of mine and of this show. I was actually talking to him earlier today. But he brought on a couple of Bigfoot researchers out of Washington State. And I actually called him. We did an interview on it. And they came on here and they were all of a sudden, I'd interviewed them about 8 months previous, and they were all, open to everything that kind of goes on with Sasquatch. And the minute they did this documentary, all of a sudden they were turned into like know-it-alls. And, there was no woo in Sasquatch. There was no, mysterious thing. This is a flesh and blood creature. And they weren't saying this before 8 months previous when they were on the show. And I was so upset by their change of attitude just because they were the stars of a documentary on Sasquatch that about a week later, I called up my buddy and I said, look, this has been bugging the crap out of me for about a week now. But I said, I need to talk to you about this. The guys you brought on are liars. And you can go back, listen to my interview with them regarding what they thought of Sasquatch. And now they're acting like a bunch of know-it-alls because you put them on film. I said, I don't like that. I don't like that. I think that's very fake. And my friend was very, very accommodating with it. I mean, there's nothing you can do. You can't pull the documentary. You can't pull them out of something that's already been filmed, edited, and put out there. But it was good for him to know that type of feedback from somebody like us who did that. And there's a lot of that, Duke.
Unfortunately, yeah, there's a few real deals out there, and there's a lot of wannabes. Honestly, there's people out there that just want to make a name for themselves. And, I know all about this and that and the other thing. And well, where's your research when you're out there looking at it? You got any witnesses that were with you? Maybe, that's kind of where the buck stops. Talk is cheap. Show me your evidence. That's what my show is basically about. It's more like a TV show, mini documentary every week. I have somebody on there and they're showing their evidence and talking about the experiences that let them gather it. And, tend to lean more heavily toward believing them when they can actually produce something that I can look at and go, well, that looks real to me. And I've seen them in the field more than once. And that looks real to me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, one quick shout out here before you give a story here. Thank you to Kat on my team. Okay. Kat is like my internet pit bull. So here she is searching around for some videos to watch, and she's over on BitChute, and she finds a channel that is monetized that has 149 episodes of Spaced Out Radio on it.
Boo.
149. Guess who started copyright strikes today?
Go, Dave.
Yeah.
On, buddy.
And hopefully, like I'd never signed up for BitChute before. So I signed up for BitChute, and the first action I'm doing is I'm striking this channel. Striking 149 episodes that this dude is monetized on, making money off of what we do here.
Yeah.
Not happy about that.
I'm on BitChute and Rumble and all those platforms, and actually got my whole catalog plus stuff that YouTube has banned is over on BitChute. But I had one guy contact me on Rumble, and he's got a channel that's kind of a best of everybody else's channel, and he wanted permission to share a couple of videos from my channel on his channel. Basically, just links them onto his channel, so I still get all the views for it. And so I gave him permission, and one of the deciding factors is I went and took a look at his channel and went, there's that video I saw a year ago that disappeared. He found it. He found that weird video I wanted to find again. Okay, this guy's got a really good channel. He gets to use my content, but it's like I don't know. I don't think he's monetized or not, but it just it links to my playlist, and so I get all the views on it. So I enjoy that.
Well, I know that this guy wasn't linked to us because number one, he didn't ask permission, but
Yeah.
number two, we're not on BitChute.
Yeah. I am, so and this is
Yeah.
on Rumble, not BitChute, so a little different.
So
But
I'm literally going to have just when I get rid of a bunch of menial tasks, I get
Gonna
a
get
bunch
more.
more. I get a bunch more. So now I'm going to have to play copyright guy going on. Duke, we got about 12 minutes here. What do you got for us?
Oh, I got enough to fill a half an hour here. Let's get going. In the keeping with the same general theme that we've been on for a few weeks now, which is let's tell Dave about highly dangerous cryptids that happen to live near him. We're continuing on with Chapter 10, Giants in the American West. And this is from Mark A. Hull and Lauren Coleman's book, True Giants, where the two of them got together. And Mark A. Hull, by the way, now deceased, another Minnesotan, same state I came from. He had kind of collected all these weird reports that didn't really fit in with common Bigfoot reports. And so they compiled them from all over the world in this one book. And a lot of these are what I refer to as mountain giants, or, you know, if you happen to be over in Europe, you would call them a mountain troll. So, let you guys check out a little bit of the stuff they got in here. And he's got really short versions of some really classic stories in here. The place of giants in the western area of Canada and the United States stands out from all other reports of hairy man. The size of these upright primates and their correspondingly huge footprints do not allow them to be confused with other mystery primates once they reach adulthood. And one thing he doesn't mention here is that it's not just the size of the foot. There's variation in the footprint itself. There is no big toe, the hallux as it's called. They apparently don't have one. They've got 4 equally sized toes across the front of their foot. So that's another way you can tell them. True giants pop up all over the western half of the continent. They appear in modern newspaper reporting as well as in very old newspapers. They're a common theme among the Indians as recorded by ethnographers. The activities of cannibal giants has been a popular subject. As people have pursued the notion of Bigfoot out west, they've come upon stories of the usual Bigfoot around 8 foot tall, and the other giant reports make them seem like small actors by comparison. The idea of super tall primates has not been well received by many Bigfoot trackers. Some of them have vacillated on the issue, seeming to accept them only to later deny the idea has any merit. In 2003, one anthropologist recorded how he had heard it put to him. He was not endorsing the idea of actual giants, but only taking note how he had been told of them by one native of his acquaintance. And this version is so short, they don't tell you who the native was. He was at a powwow of a local tribe and talking to one of the other natives about Bigfoot, and an old medicine man walked past him, and that's who told him this. I did hear from a Western state native man once say that the Sasquatch one typically sees, huge as they are the juveniles. And they're the only ones ever sighted because as youngins, they're not yet shrewd enough to know how to conceal themselves from humans 100% of the time. The adults, he said, are never seen and are unimaginably huge, 12 feet tall or something. That was a new one on me. Now, the comment here in the book is that we can say that native views on the creatures might be correct in their specifics as to the difference in size, while being incorrect in the interpretation of what these differences mean. And what they're saying is they think that, anything over this 8 foot barrier apparently is a giant. I can state unequivocally that is absolutely not true. Thank you for writing the book and everything, Lauren, but you live on the Upper East Coast. I live out here, and we've got tracks way over 20 inches before. I've got video of guys that are over, 12 feet. So, nope, that's Bigfoot. Now, an early account from Oregon tells us something of how giants were living in that region at the time. According to the research of Sidney Warren, front page of the Salem, Oregon Statesman in 1857, contained the account of a young man who encountered a mountain giant. He was carried off to the concealed home of this creature, a cave in the mountain forest of Oregon. After a short stay, he luckily escaped to tell his story. The story was told by one who had set out with an older man to look for some lost cattle. Overtaken by darkness and weariness, the two laid down to rest. About midnight, the boy was awakened by a cry. He rose and walked in that direction. Now, as Warren tells it, he observed an object approaching him that appeared like a man about 12 or 15 feet high, with glaring eyes, which had the appearance of equal balls of fire. The monster drew near to the boy, who was unable from fright to move a single step, and seizing him by the arm, dragged him forcibly away toward the mountains, over logs, underbrush, swamps, rivers, and lake and land, with a velocity that seemed to our hero as if he was flying. They had traveled in this manner perhaps an hour when the monster finally sunk upon the earth, apparently exhausted. Our hero then became aware that this creature was indeed a wild man. Okay, now listen to the description, whose body was completely covered with shaggy brown hair, about 4 inches in length. Some of his teeth protruded from his mouth like tusks. That's a commonality in mountain giant or mountain troll sightings. They have lower canine teeth that protrude out of their mouth and look like tusks, and Bigfoot don't. His hands were armed with formidable claws instead of fingertips, but his feet, singular to relate, appeared natural, being clothed with moccasins similar to those worn by the Indians. The giant kept his grasp on the boy's arm and continued on as before. In the wilderness, he finally stopped and let out a shriek that shook the forest all around them. The cry apparently was a signal to others to open the entrance to their concealed tunnel system. Immediately after which the earth opened at their feet as if a trapdoor, ingeniously contrived, had just been raised. Entering at once this subterranean abode by a ladder rudely constructed of hazel brush, they proceeded downward, somewhere between 150 to 200 feet, when they reached the bottom of a vast cave, which was brilliantly illumined with a peculiar phosphorescent light, and water trickled from the sides of the cave in minute jets. The boy was taken into the cave, and the entrance was sealed. While in the cave, the boy observed a scene between the giant and a young Indian woman who had been held captive for a long time. The woman was able to pass a note to the boy that advised him to flee or he would be devoured. The boy climbed the ladder to the sealed trap door as soon as they quit paying attention to him and dug furiously to free himself. He had a utilitarian little knife with him that aided these efforts, and after carving a small hole through which he could slip through to the surface, he encountered a group of miners a few miles away who were prospecting on the headwaters of the South Umpqua River. He told his story and was directed to civilization. At first, when the boy returned to his family, they were doubtful, but he had known for being modest and moral, so his story was given some credit among them. Now, this account gives us an idea on how these giants might have devised ways to live concealed in the caves of the West. In this case, that was in the 1950s in the Cascade Range near Crater Lake in Oregon. Now, in 1902, a giant, let's see, now we're going to skip that one. We got another good one in here, too, that I want to find right away. Here we go. This one is up from where Dave is. And of course, because they got to be up there, too. Accounts of the big men in the mountains are contained in the autobiographical recollections of Susan Allison, published in 1976 as a pioneer gentlewoman in British Columbia, edited by Margaret Ormsby. The story of her life in the last half of the 19th century included the account of an old Indian, Kikiwas, who was carried off by the big men of the mountains to a cave inhabited by two giants in the area of Lake Okanagan. The giants were so tall that Kikiwas's head reached only to their knees. They wore clothing made of goat skin. Again, clothing. Notice the other report has said he was wearing shoes, moccasins. Bigfoot don't wear clothes. They wore clothing made of goat skin, used fire again. Bigfoot don't do that. Rolled a large stone to seal their cave at night. The Indian was kept as something of a pet until he was able to flee the cave one night through a crack at the entrance. Kikiwas was an old man when he told his grandson and his great-grandson of the events. The giants were known to come down from the mountain caves, lured by the abundance of fish that the Indians were catching. When tending a fish trap, Kikiwas was picked up by one of them and carried off. As he told it, soon he began to whistle. The thing was making the same sound I heard in my sleep and thought it was the north wind. The big man calmly filled the basket with fish out of my trap, then slinging it onto his shoulders, began to ascend the mountain, still whistling with all his might. Once he stopped, and taking me out of his breast, and he's wearing a shirt, he took a fish and tried to cram it down my throat. But seeing me choke, he desisted, and putting me once more in his bosom, went on his way whistling. Peeping out of his shirt, I saw we were in a huge cave. It was dark, save for the red glow of some smoldering embers at the farther end. Throwing a few twigs on the embers, the big man blew them until, with a sharp crackling sound, they began to blaze. Then I saw how vast a cave we were in. It was somewhat low for his size, and from the roof hung garlic, meat, and herbs. Taking me out of his shirt, the big man tied me with the rope to my leg to a log that lay near the fire. Then he stood staring at me. Then for the first time I had a good look at him. Thou knowest, and he's talking to his grandson Torreskin, that I have ever esteemed by others to be a large man. But standing by the big man, my head was scarce level with his knees. His body was covered with garments of goatskin and was white, and he had a large bushy beard that hung down to his waist. Later, a second giant appeared carrying 3 dead does. He was as big as the first, and Kikiwas was able to watch them interact. They conversed in, quote, voices like thunder, unquote. He was held captive for a long time, but one night he was able to escape the cave. He wandered from us until he found his way back to his father's camp. After hearing this account, Kikiwasa's grandson had his own encounter. One day he heard a shrieking whistle and hid in the tall grass. He then watched a giant walking past his location. He told his family, quote, never will I doubt the wisdom and truth of the aged, for as thou sayest, Kikiwas, there are many strange things in these mountains, unquote.
Wow. Wow. The mountains. Hey, at Okanagan Lake there, was that around the northern part of the lake? Because the southern is more desert than it is a lot of trees. So I'm going to assume that would be the northwestern part of the lake.
Probably. I'm not sure if it gave the detail on exactly which side of the lake it was on. But we got another one here that's pretty interesting, too.
Well,
this is...
we only got 1 minute.
Okay, we ain't got enough time for that then. Well, next time I'm on, I'll read you guys some more stories, and it all comes back to the Mahoney, also called the Nahani Nakani.
Oh, I have a feeling I know where that is going. Super Duke, let everybody know where they can find World Bigfoot Radio.
Not only can you find me on YouTube, but you can also find me on the platform me and Dave were referencing earlier, BitChute and Rumble and Odyssey and Bright Eon. And you can also find my groups, Montana Bigfoot Project on Facebook and World Bigfoot Central on MeWe. Come on over, join up. It's a great group.
That is why we love you, my friend. And, you know, I know we try and give you a lot more time tonight, but this show is just kind of all over the place. Sometimes that's what happens. And you know, when you got a chance to interview, not Uncle Dale, but his mustache, you know, that is always a good time right there that you got to sneak on in. So thanks for being a good sport with us tonight.
No problem, man. I'm here to fill in. Like I said in chat earlier on, if you have problems with not enough people calling in, I'll be ready to go at the bottom of the hour.
Well, you're not here Thursday.
No, Bigfoot Michigan Rob is covering for me. I got a really giant project I got to have done by Sunday, so he's got to cover for me.
Exactly. Well, thank you for being absolutely awesome to this show. We want all of our listeners to go over to YouTube, type in World Bigfoot Radio, hit that subscribe button. Uncle Dookie here always needs the love and support of all of us here at SOR, so thank you so much. A big thank you to all the callers who called on in, Swamp Dweller for another set of spooky stories, and Jesse Peak, who came in on the first hour and then had to leave due to feeling ill. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and on Twitter.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home.
I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. You know, sometimes, just sometimes, Duke, we are blessed with a happenstance that we cannot control. And tonight was Jesse unfortunately feeling ill, and he's been battling COVID for a while, but he decided that he was going to try and be around and do the show nonetheless, because he's a trooper that way.
Right
and
on.
he just couldn't do it. And all of a sudden you have to think on the fly and make things happen, because you just can't. Look, we're not a show that can just say, oh, well, our guest left, so we're just going to shut it down after 1 hour. We can't do that. we don't have that privilege. We're not podcast privileged enough to have that.
No.
Okay. But I'll tell you, we turned this into a great night of fun and radio. We really did. We got to hear from some listeners. We got to hear from you. We got to hear from Swampy and Uncle Dale, and Grant is fantastic. I think that's a guy we need to keep following up on right there. I really do.
Yeah,
But
get him back. He was good. Even while he was trying to recover from being sick, he was good. Imagine how good he'll be when he's actually feeling well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it turned out to be a great night of radio. And thank you for everybody tuning in and hanging out and, sticking with us. It was fun. It was fun.
Super blast. And for all you UFO fans, and again, going back to the theme of tonight's earlier ill guest that didn't make it through, Mufon in the Carolinas. That was who Robin made the report to. And if you don't want to dig through my 1.5 hour long video where I interviewed her, I will have a breakdown version of it out on my channel tomorrow, which goes into more extensive, bigger, longer look at it, stabilized video, slowed down on the good parts, all that kind of good stuff. And you will be wowed. It's some of the better UFO video I've ever seen, actually.
Really, eh?
Yep. And taken by her son-in-law, who is, living temporarily where she's at over there. And her daughter and him already know that there's cryptids all over the damn place around there. But he's not so much paying attention to the sky, and he's out there on the porch having a little break and looks up like, what the hell's that? I need to start filming.
Well, thank goodness he had the ability to think like that, because a lot of us don't. I know I don't.
Well,
I know
part of the reason that he did is because, they're in a situation where most of the people there just kind of take that there's weird paranormal activity going on around there that happens all the time. It's like an everyday thing. So you get to the point where it doesn't freak you out all that much, even though you're not expecting it to happen. It happens a lot. So it's like, okay, there's, mom-in-law was telling me they just saw a saucer fly past the house about a week ago. Well, there's one up in the sky right there. There's actually 2 of them. There's some little red glowing thing following it too.
Always. It's always that red glowing thing.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell does that red glowing thing think he is? Hey, Davey, how you doing, buddy?
I think it's the UFO version of the hall monitor. They're following them around to see what they're up to and make sure they don't get into trouble. Get out of here now. You're not supposed to be being seen by the humans. Gotta leave.
Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn.
Damn saucer kids.
Oh, man.
Off my lawn, you little gray saucer bastards.
Get out of here, you little alien pricks. Who invited you? Get off my lawn. I just reseeded.
That's kind of funny. When I was talking to Travis Walton about his experience, he said, it took me a long time to really digest what happened. And now I'm at the point where I think I was essentially cosmic roadkill. I was stupid enough to walk underneath this thing where I shouldn't have been. And the radiation from it or whatever blew the crap out of me. And then they were like somebody driving in a car that hits a deer and the deer doesn't die. And they're like, oh my God, we hit a deer. What can we do? Well, in their case, they could do something. So they just brought him on board and fixed him. But that's what he's thoroughly convinced. That was what happened. He basically, threw himself under the wheels of the bus, essentially, and became cosmic roadkill, and then they had to repair them because they felt bad about it, or what? Or maybe it was like not part of the rules, accidentally wiping out humans that aren't scheduled to be wiped out or whatever.
A question from Nicola for you on the screen here.
They're actually trying to delete the magical bear part out of that story now. It's harder to find that online. And no, the kid still hasn't come forward publicly to talk to anybody about it.
I think it's almost time to go after the parents and just try and find the parents and say, hey, can I get a 10-minute interview? 10, 15 minutes. Just give me that.
Yeah, that's assuming they haven't been threatened to not talk about it.
Yeah. One day the kid will speak. One day the kid will speak. We can hope. You know?
It would be nice. I mean, and this isn't like the only time that it's happened too. And that's one of the things with some of these weird missing 411 reports where they actually find the people afterwards and they're still alive. It's either people that have mental disabilities and can't really speak and explain what happened to them, or it's little kids that can't really speak and explain what happened to them. Those are the only ones that seem to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I still don't think it's Sasquatch kidnapping people and killing people. I really don't. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Okay, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I really am more leaning towards the side of portals. I really am.
I think there's a whole bunch of phenomenon going on there. Portals are definitely one of them. People accidentally walk through a portal, bloop, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what happened. Suddenly they're on another continent or in a out of phase different world or something. And then you got the ones that are be taken by other cryptids like Gugwies, or kidnapped by the little people, or kidnapped by aliens, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole lot of options here that could be accounting for some of these weird disappearances just besides Bigfoot. And in a few cases, I kind of wonder if the Bigfoot are the ones that are bringing some of these people back again. Because like they're self-aware and smart enough to realize that if some little kid goes missing in their woods, there's going to be a whole lot of humans with boomsticks walking around their woods searching for this kid. And either they got to leave or they got to make sure that doesn't happen. So if some other cryptid or something walks off with this kid, it's possible they're the ones that are bringing the kid back, like the kid with the magical bear that disappeared for 3 days, and the bear took care of him and he brought him back again and dropped him off pretty close to the same spot that he disappeared. There's been a couple other reports like that where the kids were just too little to explain what happened, but something brought them back again fully intact.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I could see that, you know, but I just can't see an animal looking at a human child, okay? Looking at a human child and saying, that's a meal. Okay, something not as smart, like a bear or a coyote or a wolf that will feed on things as small as a rabbit or rats or something along those lines. Duke, I can see that. I can totally see that 100%. But something as how can I put it? As smart as a Sasquatch, even a Gugway, and I'm just learning about this Gugway thing from you. Okay. I just don't see where it could look at that. Okay, easy meal, yes. But there's not going to be, like, I look at my son who's 8 years old, man. There isn't a lot of meat on him.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a baby deer or a baby cow or something along those lines. It's not like that.
No, I totally agree with you. And, you know, I think I think there are people on that missing 411 list that have been taken by Sasquatch, but I think the number of them is quite small compared to the other things that are probably causing a lot of these things to happen. And, you know, there are bad ones. They're just like people. There's bad, crazy people too.
Oh, yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer, Yeah, he would eat somebody. Chimpanzees will hunt smaller monkeys and eat them. The gugwe, which might be a variant of Dinopithecus, which is basically a gigantic ice age baboon. Baboons hunt and eat monkeys. Baboons steal human children and eat them. So these damn things, if they're related to them, no question, they would do it. The other thing is, though, what is the motivation? Because just because they're kidnapping you doesn't mean they're kidnapping you to eat you. They might be keeping you for a pet. You could have a female Sasquatch that just had, one of her kids died or something, and that was her only kid, and she's crazy with grief. And oh, look, a human kid, that looks like my kid. I'll replace my kid. I think that's happened a few times.
Agree with you.
There's also been little kids that have disappeared in the woods. Actually, Robin was involved in one of these, and the kid got brought back again, and she actually got a hold of the Sasquatch that had taken the kid, and they assumed the kid had been abandoned because he was walking around the woods by himself in a really dangerous area where there was grizzlies and mountain lions, and they figured he just had worthless parents. So they took the kid back to their cave for 3 or 4 days, and then they figured that, let's bring him to where there's other humans. They can probably take better care of him, and they brought him back again.
Wow.
So, you got to, they're just like us. They have a thought process. They have language. They have their own little civilization, tribal civilization and stuff, and they have rules. So you got to figure, being that smart, that there's going to be weird things that'll happen just because the way they're thinking about things is different than the way we're thinking about them. And they see a lone kid wandering in the woods. They go, well, I'd never do that with my kid. Where's the lousy parents that let this kid go wandering off in the woods by himself? Someone's going to eat him.
Yeah. And that's a good point. But there's that one famous David Paulides story where the young lad disappears like within a few feet of his father, okay, out on a hike, and the eyewitnesses saw something big that looked like a bear carrying this thing. The kid, they saw the red jacket, what looked like a red jacket over its shoulder, moving on up. Now that little boy ended up being found dead a couple weeks later, but in a real mountainside where there's no way that kid could have climbed up there.
Yeah.
It was dangerous for kids to get there.
Dennis Martin case, I think, is what you're referencing there. Question in the chat: how do you spell it? Gugwe? And yeah, don't run into those things. I'm actually glad that I managed to get that information out, because there was a few people that are field researchers that were starting to run into these things in their area and didn't know what to make of them. And I was very happy that I could let them know to stay away from those damn things. They will try and eat you.
How do we tell the difference between a Sasquatch and a Gugwe?
Go look at the picture of the Beast of Seven Shoots. That's a Gugwe.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Beast of Seven Shoots. CHUTES.
Of Seven Shoots. Let's get the images here. Oh, that is a weird looking thing, man.
The guy that I talked to a couple people that actually did the investigation on that. The guy that took the picture was just walking around the Seven Shoots Park taking random pictures of the scenery, and had taken over 100 pictures. And that was on the picture roll, and he didn't find it until a few days later. And he looked at it and went, what the bleep is that thing down there at the base of the bridge looking up at me? Now they've scaled it to try and figure out how big it is. And there's a white object under its arm that, initially there's a lot of people going, what is that thing carrying under its arm? Well, I know what it's carrying under its arm. I talked to the researcher that was there investigating it. And right before that picture was taken, there was a weird report from a camp there where they freaked out because some weird thing had come into their camp, and they called for help and made a report of it, because it walked right in and grabbed their full-size white poodle, crammed it under its arm, and walked off with it. So guess what that white thing under its arm is? That's that no longer with us dog that it picked up and walked off for, like a lunch pail or something. But scaling it up for that, it's about 7 feet tall.
Okay, so I'm just going to bring this up here so people can see what we're talking about here. And let me just bring this up. Where's my screen? There it is. So here, here's the original still photo. Let me make this bigger here. So this is the guy's taking a photo of this beautiful pictures of little mini waterfalls and rapids, but it's this area right here in this corner that is really the focus of the picture. So zoomed in, this is what this Gugway thing looks like.
And yeah, they look a lot like a Bigfoot with a baboon's face on it, basically.
You know, this photo here, that does look like legs of a dog.
Yeah, legs and tail. He's got the dog butt backwards, and he already crushed it. He's just carrying it away. So for scale, think of how big a full-size poodle is, because that's what that is.
That's amazing.
And that's one of those things you do not want to run into that will make you go missing 411.
I mean, the punk rock hairdo is something that is a little odd.
Yep. And that's one of the details that got mentioned in the Beast of LBL attack by the KYDNR officer that was first on the scene and was also there after they brought the suspect back in the back of a big military vehicle. And he said that it was about 12 feet tall. It almost took up the entire bed on the vehicle from one end to the other. And the description he gave did not sound like Dogman. It didn't have hocks like a Dogman. It didn't have a tail. And it had the other distinguishing characteristics of what usually are associated with Gugway reports. And one of them is that sometimes they look like a lynx. You know how the lynx have those big fibrous hairs on top of their ears, look really weird and alien looking. Well, they've not only got ears on the side of their head like a normal primate does, but they've got this weird funky hair thing going on both sides. So it looks like they got lynx like ears like a lynx on them too. So that's another way you can tell them. And this also confuses people because it's like, wait, has that thing got long ears like a wolf or something? It must be a dog man. No.
I'm trying to find this thing on the video.
I don't know that it's actually on that video. I think he was just taking photographs. That might be video from the same spot.
Yeah. Well, thank you to Brignar Skibella for allowing us to use that under the whatchamacallit. What do they call it?
Fair use. Fair use.
Fair use. All right. Bad comic reviews. How you doing? That just scares the shit out of me, Duke. I'm not gonna lie, because that does look like a dog in it. Dog legs.
This ain't no little teacup poodle or slingshot poodle or whatever you call those little micro things. That's like a mid-sized dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we have got reports from witnesses of people seeing these things up to 9-10 feet tall. So they get fairly good size. Apparently, they don't get quite as big as some of the Sasquatch get, but they generally work in groups too, so that kind of makes up for it.
Yeah. Hey, Bad Comic Reviews. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Been a while. Let me just get this in here, Duke. I don't know why I'm still sharing this, but are there certain areas where there are Gugway and no Sasquatch?
I know they don't get along with each other. If there was a big enough population of them in an area, they would try and eliminate the Sasquatch or drive them out of the area, because it works in reverse. When they come, trotting into some area where the Sasquatch are already there, the Sasquatch will go to war with them pretty much right away, try and get rid of them. And we got a report from the natives out here in the Rocky Mountains that right about the time that the white man showed up and started doing prospecting and fur trapping in the Rocky Mountains, there was a war going on between them and the regular Sasquatch, and it ended up the Sasquatch won and pretty much exterminated them through the Rocky Mountains. So mostly now you're seeing reports of them coming from way up north in northern and central Canada and the east coast along the Appalachian and Smoky Mountain range and down into the south. They're starting to get reports from down there.
Any reports in BC?
I have not heard any reports of those things up here. Again, this is like the Rocky Mountain Range. Apparently, they got exterminated. So, unless they're making a comeback here recently, you shouldn't probably expect to be running into them. Or you know, in your area, maybe the mountain giants just ate them.
Could be.
You got way bigger, more dangerous things up there to worry about. And there's probably just a lot less of them. Those trolls, those are the smart ones, you know. They know how to make a fire. They know how to hide, conceal their lair. They know how to make tools and use clothes and all. And all of this kind of stuff goes back to the same legendary coming out of the Scandinavian countries when they're talking about the mountain trolls. It's all the same things they ascribe to them. Were included in those two reports I just read tonight that are from right over here in the Pac West.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
The anomalies of things that are never included in Bigfoot reports, like Bigfoot don't wear clothes, Bigfoot don't make fires, you know, some of this other stuff that they're talking about these things doing. Bigfoot have normal fingers. They don't have claws on the end of their fingers. And Bigfoot don't have tusks coming up out of their lower jaw. That's a troll thing right there.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So, yep. There was another report where ice skaters were chased off the river. I think that was like 1902 over here in Idaho. The river had frozen and they were using it for an ice skating rink. And some Bigfoot-looking thing about 8 feet tall showed up there and started whipping tree branches and stuff at him. And being that they were on skates and he wasn't, they beat a hasty retreat back to the shore they came from and easily outdistanced them. But they were panicked enough that they sent locals out there to take a look and see if they could find anything. They got to the other side of the river where this thing had come from and ran around over there with their horses for a while to see what they could find. And they found the tracks of this 8 foot tall one go up to a set of tracks that were like 22 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
And then they disappeared. Like the 22-inch long track thing just picked it up. Like this 8 foot tall thing was one of its kids. And the interesting thing about both sets of tracks is classic mountain giant tracks. Neither one displayed a big toe. They looked like human tracks, except they had 4 equal-sized toes.
Right. That is so weird, man.
That is so extremely creepy. And, you know, this is only like a century ago. And we have found tracks of these things very recently here in Montana. We got a 23, 24-inch one that Michael found. That's always in the outro part of my show. If you guys want to check that out, there it is right there. And, you know, that was over here in Coloma, about 30 miles from where I'm sitting right now in the Gemstone Mountains.
Wow.
And yeah, we don't go to that particular spot. Now that we know what's potentially there, that has become off limits. We don't go there.
Yeah. One thing here, Media Fox, welcome to the show tonight. We don't need comments like that in our chat room, anything political. So your comment was erased by me. And yeah, that's just my opinion of it. So that's where we'll leave that one.
No politics.
Oh, what is happening? Raul's stopping in. He has to come in. He has to come in late because he knows he's always on probation around here.
Yeah, Steve, you're going to like the show tomorrow because I got more Swamp Ritual in there. And part of it is from a live show that they did that I recorded that has not been released anywhere else. So you can enjoy that too. Buzz Bass Galore with Swamp Ritual. The mighty Dustin Fugere on bass.
Very nice. Very nice. See, Raul here. I'm a bad man. I mean, how bad can you be from Toronto? Your hockey team's the Maple Leafs. Like, come on.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, your hockey team's the Maple Leafs. I mean, that's like a soccer player acting tough. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, don't hit me with your club made of cotton candy, oh mighty soy warrior.
Oh, I like fucking Raul. I do.
Oh God.
There is no such thing as a tough soccer player. Okay, there is no such thing. They are as elusive as a good mother-in-law.
Yep. Soccer players train to have that awesome aerobic conditioning so that when their mouth gets too big, they can outrun the person that's about to whoop their butt.
Gorgeous Pam McSee is asking, has Duke ever investigated any Ohio sightings like the ones at Salt Fork State Park?
Well, I'm on the other side of the country from there, so I can't put boots on the ground. But I got two friends over there in Ohio that have done extensive research. One of them's right over by Salt Fork, and the other one is over in Coshocton County. And they both swear there's just plenty of Sasquatch stuff going on in Ohio. No shortage. And one of them found, God, how big did he say that? I think it was like a 26 or 28-inch track. There was more than one. It was ridiculous, huge, like 12-foot step length in between the tracks, too. Wow. So there's some big ones over there, too. They travel through all over the place. Yeah, Ohio, there's plenty of cryptid activity there. One of them that kind of surprised me, because I don't live on that side of the country, is Pennsylvania, though, which is over 90% forest. I mean, you think of Pennsylvania, you're like, well, that's been settled forever. It's all got to be cut down by. No, it's like 90% forest. Well, it's no wonder they got so many cryptid reports coming in from there. Good Lord. Like probably the last redoubt of all the cryptids on the East Coast. They'll probably move to Pennsylvania.
Nicholas says Sergio Ramos will F you up. Dude, you can just go like this to any soccer player. They're going to act like they died. Like they just took 16 bullets in the chest. No, impossible. And you can't call soccer fan normal, because when they riot, Raul, they are there for destruction. They're there for hooliganism. We didn't have hooliganism in North America until the soccer fan came over from Europe. Okay? Until soccer started becoming popular as a game, because people didn't want to spend money on hockey or baseball or football. They were afraid little Jimmy or little Jill might get a scratch on them. Okay? That's when it happened. And then all of a sudden it created all of this hooliganism that we see today. Blame soccer. Don't blame life. Blame soccer.
Yep. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if there was hooliganism going on at hockey games? And like half the audience would be dead after every game.
No, the NHL has changed so much. NHL is terrible these days. I can't even watch it. It's disgusting. Disgusting. Pisses me off. It's way too late for me to get pissed off tonight.
Gosh darn it. Dadgummit. Yeah, they got all wimpified. They went all wimpy.
Ever since they added the second referee, hockey's gone way downhill.
Yeah.
Way downhill.
Now, when I used to watch hockey was back in the days of, what was that one movie? Slapshot with the Anderson brothers. and I was in Minnesota. You know, the hockey thing is kind of popular there.
Dude, I played in a hockey league.
Yeah, you know.
Okay. and this league had a reputation, but I didn't know how bad it was. And I get asked, me and my buddy get asked to go play for this team called the Bruins. Okay. And I'm 20 years old at this time. And we go play, and I'm on the bench, and like and these are all we're all men who got to get up for work in the morning. God damn, like halfway through the game, line brawl breaks out, right? And I'm watching this, and I'm on the bench, and I'm getting excited, right? Like, holy cow, like this is kind of cool, right? Oh yeah, yeah. It was incredible. Like you even go watch other games, and it was dirty, and it was filthy, and it was like right out of Slapshot, you know. Man, I remember I was playing forward one game, and the puck goes back to the defenseman after a draw in our game, and I skate up to the guy. Defenseman doesn't even worry about the puck coming to his stick. Okay, sees me coming, and this is when we used aluminum hockey sticks. They use carbon now. Okay, aluminum hockey stick. He looks down at the puck, looks at me coming up at him, and this is no touch. This is what they call semi-contact, which is light tapping, okay? But nothing full contact. He looks up, sees me, crack, right across the jaw.
Oh, God.
Right? Oh, for God's sakes, that, honestly, it didn't feel good. Didn't feel good at all. It really sucked, right?
Yeah, that would kind of tick you off, too.
Yeah. Here's a story for you. This is a fun story for you. I love this one. Okay, so we're back in the day, and okay, this is 1994, and my buddy Kirk to this day, okay, is when him and I would go to a bar, he would literally, every time we walked up to somebody, hey, remember when Dave did this?
One of those friends. Okay.
Yeah. So he was watching in the stands that game because his brother was on my team and Kirk played for another team. And Kirk's one tough son of a bitch. Just one tough, strong man. So there's this big guy on the team, and I'm playing defense. And this guy gets around me. I kind of stumbled, and he gets around me, and I'm trying to catch him, and I dive to knock the puck off his stick. Okay, and I ended up slashing his stick, and it broke mine, which made them call a penalty on me for slashing. So I go into the penalty box. All right, like 20 seconds later, they score a goal. All right. So I come back out. I meet my defensive partner on the ice, and the face-off comes back. They got control. They go offside, or this big idiot goes offside, and he's like 6'2", 6'3". I'm only like 5'8" 3/4. And he cross-checks me right in the head, right in the helmet. Right. So he goes off for 2 minutes for high sticking. Right. So the play, we take the face off, we take the draw, we win the draw, puck goes into the corner, and I'm chirping him. He's in the penalty box on the other side, and I'm over by the benches. And I'm chirping him. I'm like, dude, keep your friggin' stick down. And he's like, shut up and get in the play next. I'm focused on him in the penalty box. And next thing I look, I hear the whistle. I look down at the other end of the ice because I'm more worried about this idiot, almost took my teeth out. And there's a line brawl on the ice, right? And I'm like, okay. So I go, everybody's paired off. There's only one guy that isn't. And I go up to him and I kind of grab him by the jersey and give him a couple of glove shots. Like, come on, let's do this. Let's go. He goes, and he looks at me and he goes, dude, I don't fight. I'm a scoring guy. Right? I'm like, he goes, what do you want? Everybody else is going. True conversation. Everybody else is going. So I thought you might want to go. And he goes, no, man. He goes, I'm not that guy. Okay. Old Davey's got nobody to fight with. I skate over to the penalty box. Okay. And I'm about 6 feet from the box. And in this rink, you have to step into the penalty box. So there's about a 4-inch lip that you got to step up in order to step into the penalty box, right? And I skate up to the box. I said, dude, what the hell are you doing trying to take out my teeth? I said, don't be an asshole like that. Like, that's not cool. Right? And he takes his stick out of the penalty box, puts it about this far from my face, and he goes, get the fuck out of here or I'm going to take your head off. And I said, okay. So you want to go? He goes, yeah. I said, come on out. He goes, why don't you come in? Okay. I
invited me.
I threw my gloves up in his face, right? Just a quick toss like that. Because I always made sure I had really loose gloves. I threw my gloves up in his face, and Duke, I hammered this guy. As I've never ever in my life hit someone as hard as I hit this guy. Like, I am literally having to go like this, pull him down so I could hit him. Right? Next thing I know, the entire line brawl has surrounded the penalty box, and they're watching me on the ice go against him over top of the boards, and old Davey's doing all right. Right? So the guy finally, because he's got height advantage, and he's a big dude, right? And he's got this reach, and he reaches and grabs the back of my shoulder pads, and he starts lifting me off the ice and into the penalty box. And somehow, to this day, I don't know how I did it. I slipped out of my gear. I'm much thinner then. I'm probably 50 pounds heavier now than I was back then. And I slipped out of my shoulder pads, and I grabbed a hold of them again. And I'm left-handed, right? That was my key to being a fighter. I knew in hockey I could always get the first 3 shots in because I was left-handed. Everybody always prepared for a right-handed fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit him. I hit him so hard. And then the linesman got in, broke it up. The one referee, his name is Dan. He goes, Dave, what the hell are you thinking? I said, Dan, he wanted to go. So we had to go. Right? Yeah. So then I look at the guy afterwards. Duke, I'm not if I see a street fight, okay, a fight happening on a street or in a bar, I go the opposite direction. I can't stand street fighting. Okay, it doesn't matter whether there's weapons or not involved. There's nothing cool, because this is where that soccer hooliganism comes into play, where when you got somebody down, okay, the buddies are always there to jump in and give you a kick or give you a punch or do something stupid. There's always somebody there who's going to do something stupid. It's never a one-on-one anymore. That's what I loved about hockey, is it was always a one-on-one. And I knew in 30 seconds, okay, whether or not that guy was being pulled off of me or I was being pulled off of him. But I knew in 30 seconds it was going to be over, and that was it. And I'll tell you though, but that guy, I could still see his face, man. Like, I beat him up. And I'll be honest with you, I to this day I still feel good about it. I do. I do.
Yeah, one of the most brutal things I ever seen in sports was actually a hockey game, and long time ago. There was 2 guys down by the goal that were busy pummeling the crap out of each other, and they had both lost control of where the puck was, and somebody else was coming around with that and was going to try and get past them and get the puck in. And right then, one of them knocked the other guy down, and the guy with the puck skated across his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very, very bloody instantaneously.
There was a young 15-year-old kid in Massachusetts who just died of that. And what's weird is in Canadian hockey, minor hockey, it happened twice within a year. Once in British Columbia. My dad was at that game. And that boy ended up dying at 18 years old. Jeff Butler was his name, who died. And my dad ended up coaching his best friend, Moro Padula, a couple of years later. And it was at a game in Delta where Moro got cross-checked in a scrum. And a guy brought his skate up, and literally the skate dug right into his leg about an inch from his balls.
Oh God.
Okay. And I'm 14 years old, and I'm having to stand there and help take his skates off. Like, I'm helping the training staff, and we've got the ambulance called and everything like that. And it cut right through the skate blade. Like in hockey gear, in your groin area is where the least padding is, because all your padding is on the front. Your shin pads, the hard part to your quads has hard plates there. Everything's on the front, but in your groin area past your jock, there is none, and that's where his skate blade went. And
guess where those big old huge veins carrying lots of blood are too? Same spot.
Yeah, I had to help cut his pants off. I had to help cut his socks off. I pulled off his skates. I had to clean up I helped the training staff clean up his gear after he had gone off to the hospital. And, it was disgusting. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in hockey. But I know the situation. But what's weird is after that happened in Canada, they made all minor hockey kids put a neck guard on, which I think is great equipment. It's fantastic equipment. But in Canada, a mouthpiece is not gear. Like, it's not mandatory equipment, which I think is stupid due to concussions.
No kidding.
However, in the United States, previous to this 15-year-old boy who just died a month and a half ago due to a skate blade across the neck, in the U.S. minor hockey, a mouth guard is mandatory, a neck guard is not. And I think that'll change now. But I mean, like in minor hockey here in Canada, even though it's not mandatory, 90% of like my boy at this point, he's not really playing competitive. He doesn't wear a mouth guard. But when he hits like 13, 14, 15, I'll put a mouth guard in him. The mouth guard saved me so many times.
Yeah.
So many times.
Better safe than sorry. That's for damn
sure.
Yeah.
Teeth are expensive, man. Teeth.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Speaking of brutal injuries, and shout out goes to Reza Ramon, who is not with us anymore. I was thinking about some of the most brutal injuries I've seen again in the wrestling ring. And, I can remember one big wrestler that jumped off the top rope to land on somebody. And when he hit, he landed at the wrong angle and it snapped his lower leg.
Yes. Sid Vicious.
Oh, God. Yeah, that was brutal. I got to see that when it happened. Oh, my God. Sid Vicious, you're right.
Yeah. Owen Hart dying in the ring.
Yep.
Some horrible injuries in wrestling. Bret Hart has a good story about how he was wrestling Yokozuna or one of them big guys, and he broke his sternum bone, and he couldn't breathe. Right? Couldn't breathe, and he had to go on. Like, the match was supposed to last like 35 minutes, and this happened at like minute 7 or minute 8.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, you got to fake it a lot and go off script and still cover 30 minutes. And yeah, I've heard about that one. Actually, I used to work with World's Strongest Man, Ken Patera, and he told me a bunch of interesting wrestling stories. One of the more hilarious ones is when he was teamed up with Canada's greatest wrestler, Iron Mike Sharp. They kind of went off script because Iron Mike is not all that dexterous. And at one point, Patera was supposed to fall back into the ring buckle, put his arm up, and then Iron Mike would tag him jump up on the top rope in the corner, and leap out and attack the guys on the other side of the ring. But Iron Mike, not so dexterous, loses his footing, comes down on Patera's face with both of his big size 13s. And Kenny was not too happy about that. And he reacted as you might expect somebody who's not too happy about that and is one of the strongest people on earth, and immediately started pummeling Iron Mike, his own tag team partner. Now, the other two guys were sitting on the other side of the ring watching this going, that's not in the script. Oh, man, is he pissed? What should we do? Well, we're supposed to be beating up on these guys, so let's get over there and beat up on them. Well, by the time they got across the ring, Ken had already thrown Iron Mike over the top rope. And so they're behind him, wailing on him, and he's like not having any of it. And so he literally beat the crap out of both of them, threw one on top of the other one and pinned both of them. And that was the end of the match. And it was a lot shorter than it was supposed to be.
Oh, man. Terrible.
Yeah, Kenny mightily hilarious. He has some real interesting stories about the olden days in wrestling when he was in there.
Oh, yeah. That's, today it looks so staged. I mean, there's so much more acrobatic, but it looks more staged. But I mean, you go back, a number of years, it looked like a brawl.
Mm-hmm.
It really did look like a brawl. It was awesome.
Well, that was part of the thing too, because I mean, they had worked out a routine in advance, but it didn't always work out that way. And sometimes these guys would they didn't like the other guy, and he'd get a little bit too cute with them, and they literally would beat the snot out of them. And if you'd seen enough wrestling matches, you could tell when it was going off script. It got a lot more entertaining all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember when I was like 12 years old, they had All-Star Wrestling come to my town, which was local BC wrestling. Sometimes they went into Montana and Washington State, and I saw my first cage match there. Oh, man, that was just heaven. Just heaven. Fell in love with the cage matches right after that. How do you not like a good cage match?
Yeah. Actually, that's another good example of what we were just talking about, the one cage match they had between Mr. Stuntman Mick and The Undertaker.
Yeah.
And I've heard The Undertaker talk about this before, and they're up on top of the cage, and, they're kind of like hanging on each other, and Mick's going, choke slam me. And he goes, are you sure that isn't part of the deal? And he's like, no, go ahead and choke slam me. Okay. So he choke slams him. The top of the cage gives way, and he goes all the way down and hits the mat. And he's like not moving. So the Undertaker, not knowing what to do at this point, looks down grimly. Is my prey dead? And he's wondering, God, I hope I didn't kill him. Is he moving or breathing? So he starts slowly climbing down the outside, way slower than he needs to give him time to actually get his breath back and start moving. And like, maybe we can complete the match and stuff. Well, the next thing you know, they're up on top of the thing again. And this time he choke slams him onto the announcer's table and smashes that. That also wasn't planned. So at the end of the whole thing, they're back in the locker room and getting ready to take a shower and clean up and everything. And Mick says, "Hey, did I use the thumbtacks? I can't remember if I used the thumbtacks." He's got like 60 thumbtacks stuck in his back from where the Undertaker slammed him through the top of the cage onto the ring. He had already spread them out. That's how effed up he was from this whole match. He didn't even remember he did it. He's got 60 of them stuck in his back.
Well, when he got thrown off the cage onto the announcer's table, you can actually see one of his teeth stuck up his nose.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Vince McMahon, there's a story about Vince McMahon actually going up to Mick Foley after that and like almost in tears, like thanking him for putting on the performance of a lifetime that has never been seen again. But he said, don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again.
That's what I heard. It was a reaction of Vince from being like partially in awe of what was going on and partially terrified that somebody was about to get killed and he was going to be in big trouble.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh man. But I mean, remember the old like WCW scaffold matches from like 20 feet up?
Oh yeah.
I would never sign up to do that, man.
Yeah, some of that stuff, man, you know, and you better make sure that you're actually doing your maneuver properly at the right time, or somebody's going to get seriously freaking mangled. And that
Oh yeah,
did happen.
yeah.
And that's what people don't take into account. You know, it's like, well, it's all a ballet, it's so scripted and everything like that. Yeah, until something goes wrong and you get seriously freaking hurt. And that happens a lot.
Well, you look at that former NFL player, Draws. He hit he got hit with a move that was wrong and broke his neck. He's now almost a quadriplegic.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. That's another thing. Some of those maneuvers they do, like if they do a tombstone pile driver or something, the Undertaker is taking all their weight on his legs. They're not actually hitting the ground, because if they do, they will die.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these things, they make it look like it's hurting the other guy. It's hurting them to do the maneuver and not kill the other guy while they're doing it.
They actually banned the pile driver in WWE. They did.
I'll tell you one thing, you know, in as far as some moves translate well into real life, the pile driver really works.
Yeah.
I've got to try that one out before. Boy, does that stop the fight.
Oh, yeah. Well, on that note, I'm going to bed. And tomorrow night on the show, oh, guess who's here? Merle. Merle is here, everyone. Don't forget, tomorrow night we Merle it up with Merle and Ghosts of the Great White North. It's going to be a good show. Our guest, special guest, the West London Witch.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
West
and then
London.
after that, Darth Fedora with the unbiased UFO report.
Darth Fedora right after that. All right. Thank you, guys. To Todd, Steve, Michael, Rob, Doug, Gary, and Obi Flett for the awesome super chats tonight. Really do appreciate it. I know we had a bunch of new subscribers tonight as well. So thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell. And Super Duke, thank you very much for a great show, buddy.
Always fun being here with you, Dave. Take care of yourself.
You too, buddy. Take care. Good night, everyone.